It ruins my day. I'm like, what? I'm
No,
not tired.
I'm
I
not
must
tired.
look sick.
6.5 hours. You did have. You told me
6.5
yesterday.
solid
But
hours
you had a
sleep.
creaky neck. You said.
I still have a creaky neck.
And I said it was the pillows. You reckon it's the mattress.
No, the pillows can move to different spaces, and the
It
pillows
depends.
came with me. It's a mattress situation.
A fight over the doofy. I know the crack. Come here, have a good show,
You
right?
too, Lee. Take care of yourself and have a good snooze.
There'll be no snoozing.
I know that. I know.
Too much to do.
Too much to do. All right, well, get on and do it. Thanks, Lee. Back with you tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6:30. Let's get the news update now at 9 o'clock. Good morning, Michaela.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Cahirlock of the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District has raised serious concerns over reports of people being bussed into the town and purporting to be beggars. Councillor Donald Mandy Kelly claims people are being intimidated by those begging on the street. He has acknowledged that there is an issue with homelessness in the town, which he called on the council to look into. However, he is urging Gardaí to investigate the legitimacy of people begging.
My main concern here is I have been told that this is supposed to be a gangs that's coming in, dropping these people off, left again at night, and that is fraud that's going on. Now, this is questions that I've asked to get to the bottom of this, because I feel if that's the case, that we need to get the Garda Síochána involved here and get to the bottom of this, because if it is fraud, then it shouldn't be happening.
Donegal County Council is being lobbied once again to tackle dereliction. The recent sitting of the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District heard calls for the local authority to outline what steps have been taken to deal with derelict buildings and sites. Councillor Cian Brogan claims very little action has been taken to date. The council says a lack of resources has exacerbated the issue. Councillor Brogan has welcomed that a meeting will be held to discuss the matter.
Right, within the whole municipal district, Letterkenny town, there's numerous different areas where there's derelict buildings, derelict houses, and indeed throughout the municipal district has been mentioned here in many different towns. So it's something that I look forward to, a special meeting here in January, that we can have a report from the additional staff that the council is bringing on to deal with this section, and hopefully then we can get quarterly reports and what steps have been taken to address it.
Residents in the Burt area have awoken to a third morning without water. Repairs to a burst water main in the area are ongoing and are expected to be completed later today. Councillor Jack Murray says there has been a serious breakdown in communication from Irish Water. He says the delay in carrying out repair works is unacceptable.
I spoke to local staff and they've advised me that it will be fixed today, thankfully, but it doesn't in any way lessen the frustration of those residents for 3 days, many with young children who've been trying to get ready for school, obviously trying to have them washed and stuff. That it's just, I suppose it's an extremely frustrating and angering experience for those people.
Weather now, sunny spells and scattered showers this morning, with showers becoming isolated through the middle of the day. Highest temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
If that sounds good, so will this. Save up to €300 off your car insurance cover when you buy online at libertyinsurance.ie. That's based on a 25% discount for new policies. Up to €300 off your car insurance. That's money for living. That's liberty. Future-proof. Subject to a minimum premium and applied before optional covers. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Liberty Seguros Compañía de Seguros y Reaseguros S.A., trading as Liberty Insurance, is authorised by the General Directorate of Insurance and Pensions Funds in Spain and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland for conduct of business rules.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, 4 minutes past 9, Wednesday the 9th of November 2022. How are you getting on? I hope you're doing very well. It is the 9 till noon show for another day. We've a busy 3 hours for you, talking about lots of different things, including air fryers. The sale of air fryers has gone through the roof. A lot of people are catching on to them now. Maybe you've got some little tips or advice that you want to share with fellow listeners. It's not really the thrust of the conversation we'll be having, but let's expand it out there. There's that and so much more besides, much more serious items to get through as well. We want your involvement. 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and text to that number. Give us a call on 074 9125,000. It's Donna, Marie and Emma taking your calls today. And your emails to comments at highlandradio.com. And don't forget, you can watch the show as always. YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, your spot there. Watch it on your telly, your tablet, wherever you want to watch it. Same with Facebook and also directly onto our website. Let's look at the papers this morning and we'll start with the Inish Times. There's been a renewed call for an increase in Garda services for Carndon. The call for more Gardaí in the North Inishowen town follows a reported increase in crime in Inishowen last year. Figures revealed by the Irish Independent showed the crime rates increased at over twice the national average in Carndon. However, local councillor Albert Doherty has cast doubt over the figures. The Sinn Féin councillor has called for more clarity and proper context given to the figures. Those figures are from the CSO, so you can go through them yourself there, and it'll break down quite specifically where the areas of crime are. The Donegal Post this morning. It is no secret that Ballyshannon is a town which has struggled more than most in recent years, but a project with huge economic and cultural potential is now within its grasp, and people are urged to get behind it and have their say on Ballysshannon's future. Councillor Barry Sweeney is among those calling on people to familiarise themselves with draft plans for the Ballyshannon Town Centre Regeneration Project. A public consultation period has been extended, meaning the community has until next Tuesday, November 15th, to study the plans and make submissions. Is it one of those towns that didn't fare very well from a bypass? I like Ballyshannon, don't get me wrong, but and the fact that it's built on the side of a hill, all of those things that need to be addressed. Let's go back to crime in the Nationals this morning. The Irish Independent, the Garda Commissioner has linked the cost of living crisis to a sharp rise in the number of thefts. Now, unfortunately, we have seen what seems to be a marked increase as it relates to reports and appeals from Gardaí, a marked increase in burglaries, particularly seems along the east side of Donegal, but not exclusively, and in Inishowen as well. The Gardaí, this Garda anyway, the Garda chief believes this is perhaps being driven by a sharp rise in the cost of living. High inflation levels could also be to blame for the significant increase in thefts from shops being reported since April of this year. I wonder, is that a bigger problem for you shop owners out there? It comes as Gardaí warn of an expected seasonal surge in break-ins over the coming months. Unfortunately, we're seeing that already here. There were 41 arrests across Dublin this week targeting suspects for burglaries and thefts. The soaring cost of fuel, electricity and other household goods has led to a decline in social spending and increased demands on mental health services. And I think it's more important now than ever that we're careful when we are doing things like going on holidays or heading away for a weekend, to be careful what we post on social media. I'm speaking to myself as well as putting it out there, because that is a big source of information. Also, funerals, sadly, we know that these criminals will presume houses will be empty at the time of funerals or in and around funerals, so we have to be very careful with that stuff too, and maybe make sure someone's back at the house or have the alarm on or whatever it might be, even in that most difficult time. The Finn Valley Voice this morning, the Francis Brown Literary Festival is delighted to announce new dates for its annual festival. Postponed last month due to the tragic events of Creasla, the festival now take place on Friday the 11th and Saturday the 12th of November. Celine McGlynn, chair, said, "We look forward to welcoming old friends and new this weekend. Although our festival programme is reduced, we still have some wonderful events for you to enjoy." Let's go on to the Irish Times now. And plans to link job seekers' benefit to previous earnings. High earners could receive larger welfare payments if they lose their jobs under fresh proposals due to go to Cabinet before Christmas. Minister for Social Protection Heather Humphreys has been given a series of options by officials around how to link welfare payments to previous income, and she now plans to bring a memo outlining the proposed changes by either the end of this month or the start of February. On the face of it, it might seem to make sense. It's understood that the system would see graduated welfare payments offered depending on the previous income or PSRI contributions of the person in question, but that there will be a cap on the maximum weekly payments. A source said the memo will contain a strawman proposal which will provide an illustrative example of how such a new system would work, including a time frame for its implementation. It will also set out details for a period of consultation with employers, bodies and trade unions. So nothing is going to happen anytime soon. The Irish Daily Mail lays out starkly the situation in our hospitals as it points out that More than 100,000 people have gone without beds in hospitals this year as research warns that patients' lives are being shortened as a result. The Irish Nurses and Midwives Organisation has been warning of unprecedented overcrowding in hospitals since the early summer. Now the union has revealed 100,195 patients haven't had access to beds so far this year, a record number at this point in the calendar. Of that figure, over 1,903 were children. INMO General Secretary Phil Nihey said these numbers have never been in this country before, and they say there needs to be a proper plan in place. I mean, obviously people waiting on hospital beds or waiting for a hospital bed doesn't always tell the full story, because many of those will get a bed a short time later and will get good care, get healthy and get out again, but still it can't certainly become a norm, can it? Taoiseach Micheál Martin has been chatting at COP27. This is in the Irish Daily Star. And it goes to show really the importance that I think sometimes where something is placed in the news or in a newspaper really determines what the editors think of the level of interest out there, if you get what I'm saying. So COP27, really quite significant, but in a lot of the papers, it's buried inside. Page 10 of the Irish Daily Star, I had to go to hear what Micheál Martin had to say. Well, he told world leaders at COP27 in Egypt that while they've made progress on the climate crisis, it's far from enough. The Fianna Fáil leader also promised to do all he can to bring about a world alive with an abundance of plant and animal life, with cleaner water and healthier air, with livable cities and sustainable rural communities. Now, I don't know if you remember the most recent water quality statistics that were published for Ireland, but it made for very, very poor reading. Again, they're building... It's not that we don't even have forests, but they're building wind farms in bogs, but then go out to Egypt and say that we have... They go out there... I don't want to rant like I ranted yesterday. I'm not ranting, okay? But listen, this is nonsense. They're just talking and doing nothing, right? So he wants... Let me read what he wants again. He wants to do all we can to bring alive a world alive with an abundance of plant and animal life. But not farm animals now, by the way, obviously. This must be wolves and rabbits and otters, not farm animals. But we want an abundance of plant and animal life with cleaner water and healthier air, with livable cities and sustainable rural communities. Our air quality is getting worse here as well, folks. Anyway, his comments followed a breakfast announcement that Ireland is donating €10 million to a global fund to help countries suffering loss and damage as a result of climate change. So, while we sit here and go, oh, well, what should we do? It's not that bad. And how could it be global warming? Sure, it's raining, that kind of stuff. There are other countries in the world that have been heavily impacted by this, and it's only getting worse for them. The idea is, along with the World Bank and United Nations Development Programme, to create financial instruments to cover risk and to help countries like Sri Lanka, for example, and African countries to prepare better so they can respond more quickly to the extraordinary damage climate change does. But again, nothing's been done. Everything's been talked about, but still we're in the same boat, getting worse, really, if the truth be told. We're not meeting 2030 targets. We're not on track to. We are actually getting worse here. Right, the Sun. We were speaking earlier in the week about delays in the payment of the €1,000 COVID bonus to frontline health workers. Well, the health minister, do you remember him, Stephen Donnelly? Well, he chipped in. He says frontline health workers who are yet to get the €1,000 COVID bonus will get the cash in a matter of weeks. Stephen Donnelly's furious. More than 80,000 people still haven't received the dough, as they call it. The thank you payment was announced more than 10 months ago by the government. The Irish Sun understands Health Minister Donnelly has told organisations outside the HSE with workers who qualify to put together a list of names. That hasn't been done already. The HSE will then send the groups the cash within a week, allowing it to be paid to staff. Right. So if you're employed by an external agency but work for the HSE, subcontracted, you're supposed to get your employer to send a list of you and your colleagues to the HSE, and then they'll pay you within a week. That's what that article says anyway. It's tough time for those or some working in tech, particularly those working for social media companies. And I think really anyone planning a career should note that profits are king for these companies, like Twitter, Facebook, and the rest. Well, Facebook encompasses Instagram and a few others. As soon as their stock starts to slip, the first thing they go at is the staff. That's what's happening right across the board. Facebook parent company Meta is reportedly set to announce significant job losses today. The social media giant employs more than 3,000 people directly at its Dublin-based office. Another 6,000 working supporting those workers. As well as Facebook, the company formed by Mark Zuckerberg owns Instagram and WhatsApp. The move comes after Meta saw 80 billion wiped off its market value last month. Meta is widely considered one of the 4 most important major tech multinationals in Ireland, alongside Google, Apple and Intel. It's not clear how many of those jobs that will be lost might be in Ireland, but it's being widely reported or stated by the likes of the Taoiseach Leo Varadkar and others that there are plenty of tech jobs available in Ireland for those who might lose their jobs at Twitter or Meta, Facebook over the next couple of days. But still, these are people with responsibilities and bills and all that. So a nervy day for them. There's no doubt about that. Right, back with our first guest in a few moments.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Seasonal loans now available for Christmas. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Imagine having to decide between heating your home and a hot meal. Imagine having to give your children hand-me-down shoes that are too big for them. Imagine having to go without food yourself to ensure your children are fed. Many of the families Barnardo's work with are in crisis, and the demand facing our services is relentless. We need your support in the next 100 days to help as many children as possible before time runs out. Please donate at barnardos.ie.
I have great news for everyone who's looking for a good night's sleep. Restex Beds are looking forward to welcoming you to their brand new showroom at Mountaintop, Letterkenny. It's one of the biggest and best bed and mattress showrooms in the Northwest and has fantastic opening offers now in store. Restex is the most trusted name in beds and mattresses in the Northwest. Why don't you call in and get the bed of your dreams at Restex Beds, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Treat your family or friends to a hamper this Christmas from Kelly Centra, Letterkenny. Kelly's have great hampers to suit all budgets, including luxury hampers available to collect or deliver. Also vouchers for Kelly's award-winning diner or Circle K fuel at the forecourt. Great gift ideas at Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Call 91-22026.
The fines for 16 driving offences have doubled and could now cost you as much as €160. €160? That's enough for a brand new pair of runners, or some swanky headphones, or a year of streaming, or a nice meal out somewhere, or tickets to the theatre. Don't get fined. There are better things to spend your money on. For a full list of updated fines, visit rsa.ie. Always follow the rules of the road. A message from the Road Safety Authority.
Candles, lanterns, Christmas trees, decorations and all types of lights. Everything you need for Christmas. Experience the magic of Christmas at Cooney's. Our biggest and best Christmas shop has outstanding value on lights and trees. There really is something for everyone at Cooney's Letterkenny Retail Park.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. Caroline O'Doherty's environmental correspondent with the Irish Independent and joins us now. Caroline, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Right, and you're speaking to us live from COP27. I suppose most of us know, I think, precisely what's going on to some extent anyway. But can you tell us what this meeting is about, who's there and what's up to, for discussion briefly, Caroline?
Okay, well, climate. The world's response to climate, government's response to climate. That's in a nutshell is what we're talking about. We've just had 2 days of what they call the World Leaders Summit, which is a segment that always kicks off these annual summits, where as many of the world's leaders as possible sort of come together and make a statement and say what they plan to do and announce good intentions and so on. And leaders of countries that are suffering climate change and very vulnerable underdeveloped countries will make a plea for assistance and ask for further action. So we've had that. That's been kind of all over and done with as of yesterday tea time. So for the remainder of this fortnight, every day there are just a huge number of meetings between organisations that are lobbying and working with their own governments meeting with other governments that they are friendly with or that they support, and then there's discussions between those kind of blocks of governments. And by the end of the fortnight, the idea is that all these little talks that are going on in gradually bigger and bigger groups will bring together some sort of consensus, a new statement of intent or a new agreement or an upping of ambition or something, so that all the countries walk away from COP27 in Egypt and say, well, this is what we've done on climate.
Now, in terms of just
in
terms of just the conversation and agreement, okay, we had that kind of in Glasgow, didn't we, last year? And listening to the Taoiseach's speech, it sounds like a wonderful utopia that he describes. But as I said before you came on, our emissions are up. We're still jamming in wind farms into bogs. Air quality, water quality has been, quite criticised in national and international reports as of late. And we've got these massive targets for 2030. So outside of these guys chatting, is anything actually really being done in any meaningful sense to limit the heat, the increase in the Earth's temperature?
In small pockets, yes. In certain countries, more than others, yes. In certain industries even, yes. But in the numbers and in the breadth and stretch and coverage around the world that was needed, no. Meaning whatever agreement comes out of this COP, there are plenty of agreements. If we were working on the agreements from particularly the 2015 agreement, which became the Paris Agreement, which was a very strong one, and it put sort of the 1.5 degree limit on global warming that we should aim for. It put the 2030 timeline that we should aim for. So there's no shortage of agreements in place, and the big issue has been getting people to act on it. So even today now, just this morning, the days from each day from now on has a theme. Today is Finance Day, and that means all sorts of things. It means finance from richer countries helping poorer countries to deal with climate impacts and preparing for climate disasters. It also means who's putting the money into the fossil fuel companies, who's still doing the investments, who's still funding new fossil fuel extraction, for example. So all of that's still happening. Now, to a lesser degree, because absolutely there's more investment going into renewable energy. Absolutely there's more assistance going to vulnerable countries to say, please don't develop your own gas reserves, we'll help you with solar instead. There is stuff happening, and there are huge amounts of academics here, there are huge amounts of youth groups, there are huge amounts of NGOs, activists, all doing really good work, but at a certain level. And the idea is that if they could all somehow, reach into the minds of the leaders and say, do what we're doing, except do it on a global scale, job's done. But there is that gap between the people who are doing lots of great work on the ground and the scientists who've done all the research and the academics who are teaching it to the younger people so they know what they have to do. But they still enter a system in a country where there are laws and where there are well-established sort of economic models and so on that kind of go down the route of, we still need to make profit and we still need to do this and we still need to do that, and fossil fuels are very reliable and energy security is a big issue, so we're still kind of reliant on all of that. So it's hard to just turn the boat around, if you like, from the way it's been headed all these years. But so are things happening? Yes, they are. Certainly, if you walked away from the leaders, the 2 days of the leaders making their statements, you'd be a little bit despairing. Then you walk out of that into the sort of the huge pavilions that are set up for all these disparate world groups where people are acting and trying to act and lobbying for action. And you feel, well, okay, there's certainly an appetite for change, and there's the science behind the change is there, and the technologies and the knowledge is there. So if you can just kind of, take the energy from them and insert it into the leaders.
The problem is it's a wee bit like herding cats, though, isn't it? Because every country then can make its individual argument. Ireland probably could make its individual argument as to why it's such a struggle here and our reliance on agriculture and all this type of stuff. China could talk about, having to do what they need to do, but at the same time they have to deal with poverty and other internal challenges. And you could go to the United States and sort of start having this, like it all sounds good in this spot when everyone's together, but when everyone goes back home to try and get their house in order, it seems to be that's where an awful lot of the stumbling blocks. And then you have the poorer countries which have been mentioned, which are feeling the brunt of climate change, the global increase in temperatures.
And those are all real issues. When the leaders go back to their own countries, I mean, they're always talking about the political realities as if they're something that they, just imagine. They're not. I mean, they are real problems if you're trying to take a sector, a polluting sector, a carbon polluting sector in your own country and say you can't do that anymore, or we need you to change your practices that you've relied on, that you've built your industry on, you've built your livelihood on, and you need to change that. As we've seen it here, it's hugely conflicting, it's hugely disturbing, there's huge anxiety within the agricultural community in Ireland, for example, over what changes are being asked. But because there's been such warnings, so many years of warnings about this, it still does come down to leaders to try and say, look, we do need you to change, but we will support you. And that's the big thing, because certainly you go to the US and so many people are employed in gas and oil over there, and they're ordinary people. And do they just get turfed out of their jobs? Something has to be done for them.
Mm-hmm.
And the coal industry and the coal industry in particular, I mean, there's huge poverty in some areas of the US where the coal industry stopped. It didn't stop for climate reasons, it stopped for economic reasons. But the same issue, you see what happens. So you can't just, and if you announce a sudden stop, it won't be the politicians, it won't be the leaders who'll be without a pay packet. It's ordinary people.
Yeah, they also
people,
they also have to convince their voters, though, don't they? And it's like a lot of things nowadays. People's even acceptance of climate change. There's quite a lot of people that don't. In terms of what you're talking about, in terms of what you're reporting on, your excellent reporting in the Irish Independent today, and this isn't a slight or having a go or anything, but I had to go into page 12 and 13 to read the copy that you've filed. It's buried inside other newspapers. I mean, as I say, I'm not trying to ask you to sort of overrule your editor, but I mean, really, this should be front page news everywhere, shouldn't it? It's such as what's at stake.
We find a problem because we track what our readers read. We track them very closely. We know how long they spend on stories and how they come to stories and how quickly they exit a story and so on. And so there is an issue because we know that people don't necessarily want to dwell on these issues very much. Now, there's a difficulty there. Sometimes that is interpreted as people don't care. Sometimes it's interpreted as people don't believe that, they don't believe in climate change. What we're finding, time and time again now, and lots of research has been done, is people do believe. They absolutely accept it. And they do care, but they're just kind of almost paralyzed. But what can I do about it? And that's where it comes back to the leaders, or I'm too actually now afraid to read into that. Or even there's a sense of disbelief, not in the science, not the pattern, but disbelief that it could come that quickly and hurt us that bad, if you like. So that does come back to leadership. And yes, it's absolutely tricky, but it does come back to leadership. If the people are believing and the people are wanting you to help them act, then you have to help them act. And that's not easy, and I wouldn't dismiss the challenge. We spent 2 days, we bumped into Micheál Martin a few times, he spoke to us, and he's, while he was there, we were asking about job losses in the tech industry in Ireland. We were asking about the problems on the bus services. There's the everyday things that a leader has to deal with. And that's the person whose bus didn't show up when they're trying to get to work. That's going to bug them all day, possibly all week. They possibly miss some appointments. You're going to insert climate change into their head on that particular day? Probably not.
Okay, one last thing before I let you go, Caroline, is, you see, as well as that too, what a lot of people would look at, regular people like myself and others, and this is not in any way to try and pick holes in it, but they will see, you talked about the village effectively that's been built there. We've seen the private jets landing. We've seen the cars rolling off the back of planes. This is something that possibly could be done remotely or over Zoom. There could be an argument for that, and then you could say, yeah, but it couldn't be done effectively. You need to see the white of people's eyes. But when you're asking people to make big changes in their life, and then you see lots of people flying from all over the world to meet up, and it feels a little bit like waffle, and I don't mean that with any disrespect. Unless you can overcome that, you're never going to bring people with you, because it's like, okay, you are all burning it up over there and then asking us to turn our heat down 1 degree. Do you know what I mean? And I think until that that circle is squared, or they're never going to be able to get the message across, because Micheál Martin's going to fly back into Ireland and everyone's going to say, oh, did you have a nice flight? And you're talking about, lovely animals running around the place and trees and hedges and all that kind of stuff. But, practice what you preach.
Yeah, look, there is, and I understand why this kind of activity fuels cynicism and public cynicism. And we had a long discussion about, do I go? Do I sit at home and watch it online? If I do, and it is a tricky thing to make that decision. Number one, I want a world where people can fly. I think most of us do. The airlines have known for 70 years that they could produce sustainable aviation fuels and didn't do it. Governments didn't ask them to do it. Nobody required them to do it. They're now slow about doing it. They're suddenly beginning to research into it. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we had short-hop solar-powered planes? It is possible. But is it possible if people want to pay €20 for a flight? Probably not. So there are issues there about what will people accept, if flights have to change. What will, how much extra will people pay for sustainable aviation fuel? Can we get people to just do necessary flights? So this is a work flight. I don't fly for holidays. That's the way I work. But, I'm not going to deprive. I know plenty of people whose home place is not Ireland and they flew home to see family after COVID and with welcome arms. And I said, of course, they asked me, am I a bad person? No, you're not. Go home and see your family. You haven't seen them for 3 years. So, I understand all of that. There is a value in getting these people together, even this morning now, and it's very hard to, particularly in Egypt, it's very hard for people to protest. It's very hard for people to demonstrate. A very small demonstration was carried out within the compound here. That's important because sometimes the people that we're not hearing, this is supposed to be an African COP. A COP doesn't come to Africa very often, and the point is we don't hear their voices then often enough. And my concern was, if I didn't come, for example, does it look bad that you go to a European COP, but you say really do need to be listened to, because we are quite removed from them and quite removed from their experiences, and yet everything we do impacts upon them. So, and there is, I definitely think there is. Simon Coveney is in COP today. We haven't seen him yet. We won't see him till this evening. He has 12 meetings today. So at every one of those meetings, he'll shake somebody's hand and he'll say, look at them in the eye. And I think that's invaluable. Micheál Martin, when he was here yesterday, met groups of young people behind closed doors so they can all speak very openly. We didn't get the earwig in, and they can all speak very openly. He met a bunch of academics and he met civil society groups. They can all speak very frankly. Nobody's earwigging in on them. And those kind of encounters, they don't even happen at home. It's very hard for it to happen at home. They might get a hearing at an Oireachtas committee or something, but it's not that kind of relaxed, informal, behind closed doors, we're all going to speak the truth here, is important. It seems bizarre that you have to come to Egypt to do it, but because it kind of concentrates, it is a forum for concentrating mind and time on these issues, and it's happening. And it is also good for, Ireland does work with developing countries, and it's very good for them to meet up front the faces of those people, because again, they can talk freely. We know some countries when people working in development issues or justice issues send reports, the communications can be intercepted. Yeah. When people can meet and talk openly, there's a value to that. Does that value outweigh? Certainly there's certainly a carbon impact of this. I can see it. The air conditioning, we've asked them to turn it down. It's believe it or not, it's freezing us. Things like that. They want people to be comfortable so they can do the work. There's too many lights on. We've said that. It's not ideal.
I get you.
I think
Yeah,
maybe even every second year. I think there possibly is an argument for every second year. To be quite honest.
Well, that would halve the carbon footprint at least. Okay, Caroline. Listen, thanks for your thanks for your insight, Caroline. I appreciate it. I really do. That is Caroline O'Doherty, environmental correspondent with the Irish Independent. Okay, it is linked to climate change, I suppose. But it's going to be 17 degrees here tomorrow. It's the middle of November, bother shouting. It's been pretty mild so far, and I was kind of interested to find out what impact, if any, that might be having on our wildlife. We're going to be talking to Angus Kennedy after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Lancome has an exclusive beauty gift waiting for you at McGee's Chemist in Letterkenny. Simply purchase 2 Lancome products, one to be skincare, and get a free 8-piece gift containing a full-size comfort mousse. Absolute day and night travel size creams, plus more of your favourite iconic Lancôme products. Available until Saturday the 12th of November or while stocks last. T's and C's apply at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
Inishowen Credit Union has recently launched Cultivate, an agricultural loan at only 6.55%, APR 6.75%. Call any of their 4 offices for more information or to make an appointment. Inishowen Credit Union, Buncrana, Carndonham, Moville and Muff, supporting local farmers. Inishowen Credit Union is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Give the gift of discovery this Christmas with an overnight escape or a meal they're sure to remember in that place they love or the one they'd love to try. Buy a voucher for one of Ireland's amazing hotels or restaurants today and support Irish businesses while getting a head start on your Christmas shopping. Brought to you by Fáilte Ireland.
Enjoy a great children's magic and illusion show with Joe the Magician from RTE Junior on Sunday, November the 13th in the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny. With face painting, costume characters, TJ's teddy bears, and build your own cuddly bear, it's a children's show not to miss. That's with Joe the Magician in the Mount Errigal Hotel this Sunday. Doors open at 2 and the show starts at 3. Tickets at eventbrite.ie. Proceeds to the Letterkenny and District Pipe Band.
The 9 till noon show will be live this Friday from McElhenny's Ballybuffet to mark the official beginning of the Buy Donegal campaign, which runs from November 11th to December 24th. Tune in to find out about the Buy Donegal campaign, which showcases the best of Donegal businesses to a global audience. That's this Friday, the 9 till noon show, live from McElhenny's Ballybuffet.
All right, you're very welcome very welcome back to the programme. Right, we're joined on it now by Angus Kennedy. From Nature Northwest. Angus, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Greg, how you doing? Thanks a million.
Right, so I stepped out of the house this morning. Weather was beautiful. Tomorrow it's going to be 16, maybe even 17 degrees here in the Northwest. I'm not saying that's unheard of. I'm not necessarily pointing to a trend. But I was curious to find out because I have butterflies and flies around the place, I was just curious to find out what, if any, impact this milder weather might be having on nature.
Yeah, it has a huge impact, Greg. Huge impact on nature. We're certainly enjoying it, and we're getting out for longer walks. And farmers are seeing growth in the grass, which means their cattle can stay on the land and so on. That's good, and that's hopefully saving people a few euros in feed. However, it's throwing off a lot of the cycles for nature. So there was swallows spotted over the weekend in Wicklow, in Cork, and a few different places, and there was some swallows spotted in Milford only last week by the bird artist, the local bird artist Robert Vaughan, amazing bird art and amazing bird spotter. But he was spotting swallows and some house martins the week before, which are hanging around, those birds that normally would be gone in September time. And they're hanging around, of course, because there's enough food for them. And the food that they like to eat is the insects. And that is one of the things I think that we should be a little concerned about, because the insects, as you've rightly said, the butterflies are out, a lot of other insects are out that shouldn't be at this stage. It should be too cold. They should be in their dormant phase, and that will have knock-on repercussions for next year.
How does that work then? What are those repercussions, Angus?
Well, if you think, for instance, there's some butterflies that we would normally see around about September time. A beautiful orange butterfly with little blue spots at the bottom of the wings called the small tortoise shell. They're one of our most common butterflies, and they overwinter. So they'll overwinter in your turf shed, in the log pile under an old dead tree, that kind of thing. Or sometimes in our houses, actually, we come across them. But at this time of year, when the weather is warm, they start waking up again. So a couple of cold nights, they'll start overwintering, and then they wake up. But there's not enough flowers flowering for them. So as a result, they won't be able to get enough food to sustain themselves for their long hibernation over the winter. And for every one of those butterflies that doesn't survive the winter, that's a whole generation of potential butterflies next year that won't come. All of their eggs and the rest of it.
Yeah. And in terms of Novembers, mild Novembers. Are we seeing any trend?
Well, for the last 10 years or so, we've had the hottest or the warmest October that we've had. And the one thing that people are saying for sure, I was reading an interesting article by the climate expert for Met Éireann, so our own weather forecaster, national weather forecaster, and he was saying that everything, be it benign weather, be it stormy weather, is all affected to some degree currently by climate change. And this current weather, as well as bringing up warm winds from further south and being really stuck. Now, that doesn't mean it hasn't happened before and there won't be these fluctuations, but the trend over a long period is showing it's stuck there for a long time. And something that we're not noticing quite as much is that there's a huge amount of moisture is coming with this as well. So along the middle of the country, the Midlands, they're very worried because the whole Shannon Basin is currently saturated. And it's very early in the season for that. And they've had 2.5 times their normal rainfall down the likes of, say, Cork and Waterford. So it's most definitely affected to a certain extent by climate, even if this weather might have been coming already.
Yeah, and people often confuse the weather with the climate. In other words, people might go, "What climate change? Sure, it's it's lovely and warm. That's the way." There's a difference between the weather and the climate.
Oh, absolutely. And the weather is the day to day. And if you think on any one day, Iceland, of course, is colder than Ireland, but on any one day, we might be a little warmer than Iceland, or we might be a little colder than Iceland, or the same for Spain. That's just the weather on the day. But the overall trends are, and we're very lucky where we are in Ireland, and I think particularly up here in the northwest, because our weather is quite benign. It's never too hot, never too cold, plenty of rain, but we know how to deal with it. So we are one of the best parts of the world, really, to be able to deal with these fluctuations. Because what climate change does, with all of this excess CO2 that we're putting up in the sky by burning fossil fuels, it's as simple as that. And we've been doing that for 100 plus years at a ferocious rate. And by burning all these extra fossil fuels, we're heating up the planet a little bit, and that makes the fluctuations fluctuate all the more. If we live in a wet place, it gets wetter. If you live in a place where there's droughts, the droughts get worse. If you live in a place where there's already wildfires, the wildfires get worse. So it exaggerates everything we have. And that's why I think we're very lucky here, because our weather is not too extreme either way. But all of these things, they will affect our nature, and they'll affect all of the biodiversity that's around us.
Well, it's like a polytunnel or a greenhouse, really, isn't it? I mean, in a very small sense, we're playing with the environment.
Oh, completely. Yeah. Well, we see. So a very strange thing that goes against what we would normally think is that we're suffering from drought in Ireland to a large extent because of this because of these changes in the weather patterns, where our rainfall is getting more intense, but we're not getting quite as much of it. Now, that might be hard to believe when you're living in Donegal, but we see that very much down the country. And as a result, it makes it harder to be able to grow certain crops. So a lot of our rivers across the country year on year are a little lower and a little lower. That puts pressure on fish stocks, puts pressure on farming, puts pressure on access to water and the rest of it. And of course, all we need to do is look across to France and Spain, not very far away, or even London, and we see the extremes down there. All you need to do is go a little further south or a bit more inland into those big continental blocks, and the effects of climate change is much worse again.
Yeah.
But it's definitely knocking the patterns of the birds, of the insects, which would worry me the most, because they're the basis for so much life. And we might enjoy the weather right now today, but in the long term, it's going to come back and affect us.
Yeah, I mean, callers say 70 degrees in November. Why is everyone moaning about climate change? It's another perfect day in Donegal. And I can understand exactly where it's coming from. There's world leaders have said, she's coming from. There's world leaders have said the same as that. But, you go and speak to the people in India or some of the other countries that you mentioned and talk to them about whether or not a couple of extra degrees, sure, it's grand, isn't it? There's millions of people being displaced by weather that we're seeing more regularly but hadn't been seen before that.
Yeah, and it's our human nature to just think day to day. We're so busy trying to chase whatever our own local personal issues are, trying to keep on top of the mortgage, trying not to be too shocked by the latest ESB bill or whatever it is. But we don't look into the longer term. But when you look across patterns and trends, it is quite worrying. So I'm in the fantastic little St. Rian's school right now, and they've very kindly given me this office to do this chat. And we're going to be going out exploring their bog habitat quite soon. part of the Wild Atlantic Nature Programme, which is brilliant. And we'll be very glad of that warm weather. However, in the longer term, that's going to put stress.
Where will this world be when they're in their mid-40s or when their children are in their mid-20s? Because if the Earth continues to heat as it is, whether or not it's climate change or not, I think we need to try and do something, because this world's going to be really quite hard to live in a lot of places in short shrift. Our children now, my young 2-year-old, when he's in his mid-40s, he might live in a very, very different, very difficult to live in world. So at least we have to try something, because if we leave it going as is, it's not going to be very pleasant for our children and their children.
It's 100%, and it's very clear. The science is very clear on it, and people get annoyed hearing that kind of phrase. The science is clear on it, but I say it because I feel it really is very.
You know where the annoyance comes from, though? Sorry to cut across you, and I kind of had this conversation earlier. It's frustration with the decision makers. It's them flying from all over the world on jets into Egypt. It's the air conditioning being too high and too many lights on, as we've just heard from a reporter. It's Micheál Martin going over and painting this picture of this future utopia when, we aren't hitting any of our targets here in this country. It's waffle. It feels like waffle. So if we found some other way to engage other than our point of contact being the decision-making politicians, we might be better off.
Well, I think one of the biggest things we need to do collectively as a society, because, for instance, you've got to remember, and it's not your fault, it's not my fault, it's not any of the listeners' fault, but we are the second most carbon heavy or carbon using, so the second most polluting when it comes to climate change country in the whole of Europe. It's phenomenal. If every country used carbon the way that we do currently today in Ireland, if we use fossil fuels like we do in Ireland, if every country did the same, the world would currently be 3 degrees overheated, not 1.2. It's quite startling. So we're one of the big polluters there. Now, I still have to drive to work. I still have to heat my home, as do all of our listeners. So that's where we need our policymakers to be able to get behind us, to support us in a fair way. But one of the biggest things they need to do is they need to stand up to the likes of the fossil fuel industry that has known about this. They have published...
Well, the biggest polluters, Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, surprisingly Canada, than the United States. Little old Ireland, we're pumping out around about 7.72 tons of carbon per capita. Qatar's 37.05, Kuwait 23.49, Canada 16.85, twice as what we're doing. And if you're a farmer in the west of Ireland, you think, yeah, we'll do our bit, but let's see some action elsewhere too.
I 100% agree. The others do need to stand up. We can't force them to do it. What we can do is we can lead by example. There was something that struck me when we were talking about this a few weeks ago. There was an illegal dump found recently in Falcarra. And it was a big, big dump. The council had to spend a huge amount of money digging out all of that rubbish. And there was vast amounts of rubbish. There were tons and tons of rubbish put into that bog. It was illegal. Does that mean it's okay for me to throw a Mars bar wrapper outside the window of my car as I drive home?
No, but
nothing.
If there were proper oversight, proper regulations and proper fines for dealing with dumping on that scale, or to at least to deter it, you might feel a little bit less likely to chuck a wrapper out of your window. That's all I'm saying, Angus. And I take the analogy and I agree with you 100%, but I'm just trying to scale it down to your metaphor. You would need to see the fact that it actually matters that this massive bog in Falcarra was found, and that maybe someone might be fined responsible, and maybe something might be done to prevent it happening again. And then we could start talking about your wrapper. That's the sort of... I'm trying to put your metaphor into the global situation.
I completely agree. And the only way that those laws and those regulations be put in place is if we empower our politicians. And I do believe a lot of our politicians want to do the right thing, but they're being pulled from pillar to post. There are an awful lot of immediate problems we need to highlight to our politicians. And I see this the more that it's brought up. I see people getting braver. The more we tell our politicians, we want you to deal with these issues, the more those politicians say, well, okay, I do have a bit of a mandate for it. Whereas if we're all saying, never mind climate change, look at China, look at Qatar, look at other people.
China's pretty good, in fairness to them. China's pretty good. They've got the biggest population and the biggest polluters, but per head of population, they're not far ahead of us at all, really.
Considerably less than us. India, considerably less than us per head of population.
Yeah.
When you it down proportionately. And how can we expect anybody else to do anything about climate change if we're not looking at our...
But even internally, we look to Eamon Ryan and the Green Party, okay, because they are the Green Party, right? And we need to feel that Eamon Ryan's not just looking at buses and Lewis and trains for Dublin, but there's a just transition for people in rural Ireland as well, that we have proper investment in rail, in public transport, you know, that converting our homes to be more energy efficient, that it is actually affordable, you know. But then when we look to the likes of Eamon Ryan, and it appears that he goes, well, most people live in Dublin. I kind of run for election in Dublin. Plenty of transport there. Get people on their electric bikes. Problem solved. Then you've half the country that are going, what? That's why they're sitting at 4% in the polls, which, given the margin of error, effectively could be 1%, really, if you want to look like that. So even internally, we have this rural-urban divide whereby you look after who's in the urban area, you pat yourself on your back because you feel you do something good, but we're stuck out in the sticks saying, well, you're going to have to give up your livelihoods, you're going to have to do this, you're going to have to do that, not showing us a pathway, a positive pathway to sort of work with the government to try and fix this problem. So if we can't do that internally, Angus, I worry about us doing this on a continental, global scale.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And the greatest thing, and I believe this and often say this with school groups, and often hear this from other people who are involved in climate awareness and climate action, the greatest thing we can do is agitate ourselves, become an activist ourselves. How many people that are listening to this show said to the last politicians that got voted in, Pearse Doherty, Pádraig McLaughlin, Joe McHugh, Charlie McConaughey, whoever it is, and whatever party they are from, when they vote for them in Donegal, said, what are you going to do to help us with climate change? How are you going to help me put solar panels on my roof? How are you going to help me insulate my house? How are you going to help us improve our public transport? And until we bring those measures ourselves to the politicians, are those politicians going to do anything about it?
Yeah.
They will feel need them.
But the bottom line is our contribution on a European level is to disseminate, get rid of our fishing and farming industries. But no one will say honestly, at least say it honestly, that, you know, as part of Brexit and part of negotiations, really, we're going to legislate you and cost you out of these industries that are part of our heritage, our culture, as much as anything else. But instead, they do it by death of 1,000 cuts. And until they start properly honest messaging, we're always going to have problems. Can I ask a couple of questions before we go on? Do we keep feeding birds all year? And is there anything I can do to keep mice and rats away as food seems to attract them? Thank you, Angus. Just a couple of housekeeping questions here.
Yes, the bird, but I wouldn't mind replying to what you just said there a moment ago.
Go ahead. Do that first, because that's only fair. Go ahead.
But on the birds issue, keep feeding them all year round, and if you can, buy the more high quality bird feed. Sometimes we can be tempted to buy the big seed mix that is very cheap. Don't, because there's some seeds in there that the birds won't eat. And to keep so I buy the best quality stuff I can buy, but in the smallest bag. So still only a few euros. And I buy the cheapest porridge I can find, mix that together, put out a very small amount each day. If you see that disappearing, you can put out a little bit more. Whereas if there's too much put out, or if it's cheap feed, it'll be thrown down onto the ground. And discard, and then possibly you'll attract rodents and that kind of stuff.
Like, go on, respond to that other thing. That waffle.
But yeah, if I could, yeah. Well, so you're saying that death by 1,000 cuts. I think we still have an awful lot of power to make our own decisions here in Ireland, and I think in a lot of ways, the current government has been showing policy that is leading the way. Right now, I'm doing a project which is it's a pilot project. Looking at bogs, and it's part of the Wild Atlantic Nature Programme. And it's something I would urge anybody who's interested in farming, in bogs, in turf, in any of that stuff in Donegal, have a look at this. The wildatlanticnature.ie is the website. And this is a programme that it's very well resourced. And for the first time, it's going on till I think it's 29 or 30, the year 29 or 30. So it's going to be resourced for a long time. And it's working with landowners who farm the likes of commonage. They've sheep up on the bogs and whatnot, working with them, rewarding them, the better the biodiversity is on the bog. So it's not penalizing people, it's not taking payments off, it's not threatening people, it's literally working with groups to say, if you do this, we can give you X. If you do the next thing, we can give you Y, and so on. And that is the way forward. And the reason that they're doing that is because, first of all, bogs capture a huge amount of carbon. They support an awful lot of biodiversity. So they'll help with both the climate issues that we have, and they will help with the biodiversity issues that we have. But also, it's a way of helping landowners to stay where they are. and helping landowners fund themselves and be able to survive in these kind of places. So I think that's just one example of how people aren't trying to be driven out. In fact, if anything, some of these new schemes are looking at keeping people in place, but changing the methods of what we do in the appropriate place.
Yeah, all right, listen. Is it okay to cut hedges and trees at the moment? Sorry, caller wants to know. Any rules against it?
There's no official laws against it. It's never a good time to be cutting a hedge or a tree. We need every tree to clean our air. We need every tree to help us stop flooding and capture carbon. However, the later you can leave it in winter is better from a nature point of view. Legally, you're allowed to do that, certainly with hedges anyway, not necessarily with trees. But at the moment, the hedges are full of berries. They're sheltering a lot of those birds and a lot of the birds that might still be hanging around. So hang on until the last bit of winter if you can.
Angus, thanks for so much of your time this morning. I'll let you get back to your students. I'm sure they're going to have a lovely morning, and it's a great day for it, for right or wrong. Thanks very much,
Great
Angus.
stuff.
Take
Thanks
care.
very much, Greg.
Bye-bye. Appreciate your time, and thanks to the school facilitating that conversation. It's the warm wind from the south that brings the mild, moist weather. I recall temperatures in the high teens one year a few decades ago in early December down in the south of Ireland due to the wind coming from North Africa. Cars were covered in sandy dust. Don't worry, it's not going to last, and chances are that we may see snow before Christmas. But you're talking about the weather, you see. If you talk about trends, that's the climate. And if we are starting to see consistently warmer weather towards the end of the year, that's climate change. But you're talking, like, we can always look. I remember us swimming in the sea, Merva, in February. We had bodyboards out and it was absolutely glorious. That was about how long ago would that be? 30 years ago? But that didn't happen every single year. That was a weather event. What we're talking about is trends, climate. A caller says she always had, that's a question for Angus, sorry. I'll ask it, maybe some people can answer. Caller says she always had bats in the attic, new fascia on the roof. Would that stop the bats getting in and out? Hasn't had any recently. Well, if there was holes or gaps, your fascia and soffit will seal all that up unless they can get in up behind the guttering. There seems to be an increase in the population in grey squirrels lately. Would they be going into hibernation soon? I'm not sure about that, and Angus is gone. Why isn't COP27 by Zoom? Thousands of aircraft and private jets. It's hardly helping the planet. The weather is confusing all sorts of things, says another. Great for humans, but knocking off the timing for a lot of plants and animals, etc. Okay, listen, it's... I found it an interesting hour, but we've lots more stuff, different things to talk about in the next 2 hours. Stay with us, back after the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Do you need to switch your Ulster Bank loan or overdraft? We are now offering competitive low-rate switcher loans and MyCU current account with overdraft.
From the morning routines to cosy family moments, Grant has been bringing comfort to homes for over 45 years. With our biofuel-compatible condensing boilers, heat pumps and underfloor heating, you can trust Grant to heat your home now and into the future. Think heating, think Grant. Visit grant.eu.
In cold weather, why work with a red nose and blue fingers? Heat your garage or shed with a kerosene blow heater from Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny. Call into Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny, where you'll find heaters of all sizes for sale and hire at great value.
Buying or moving home can be a strange mixture of excitement and stress. So the last thing you need is worrying about conveyancing. Time to call McElhenney & Associates. They'll move that property transaction along swiftly, make sure everything's in order, and prevent any nasty surprises. Residential, commercial, leasing, or voluntary transfer, call today on 074 917 5989 or find us online. We'll do the paperwork, you do the wallpaper. McElhenney & Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. How can we help?
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark-approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
Paul agreed to bring his elderly neighbour shopping without realising she's such a devout middle aisle shopper. He now has to make space for his neighbour, a TV and a gazebo. Thankfully, Paul's new Citroën C5 Aircross SUV offers best-in-class boot space, 3 flat-folding individual rear seats and all with advanced comfort technology. Comfy neighbours guaranteed. The new Citroën C5 Aircross SUV, as generous as you are.
Visit the Citroen Open Weekend this Thursday, Friday and Saturday at Highland Motors, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Donegal County Council advised that a public information day on the preferred option for the Burnfoot Flood Relief Scheme will take place on the 9th of November in Angrinnan Hotel from 4 p.m. until 8 p.m. This will be the first opportunity for the public to view the option that is preferred for taking forward to the statutory planning process. Attendees will also be able to discuss the option in person with the project team and provide feedback. All are welcome and encouraged to attend.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. Serious concerns are being raised over the legitimacy of some beggars in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet. The Cahirlock of the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District claims people are being bossed into Letterkenny and are intimidating people purporting to be beggars. Councillor Donamandi Kelly is calling on Gardaí to intervene.
My main concern here is I have been told that this is supposed to be gangs that's coming in, dropping these people off, left again at night, and that is fraud that's going on. Now, this is questions that I've asked to get to the bottom of this, because I feel if that's the case, that we need to get the Garda Síochána involved here and get to the bottom of this, because if it is fraud, then it shouldn't be happening.
Meanwhile, Councillor Patrick McGuyan says this has been an ongoing issue for a number of years in the Ballybuffet area. He says he has observed a number of instances where people have been dropped off in the town and later picked up. Councillor McGuyan is of the belief that it is organised crime. He's also calling on Gardaí to do more.
We do believe this is organised crime, that is slavery. We believe in cases people's identification or passports are removed and that they're left in terrible condition, and we sometimes think they're actually the victim, and this needs to be stopped. And I would be quite critical of the Gardaí. I think they need to be doing more. Not the local men, they're doing their best, and women, but I think it's time for the super and the rest to find out what is going on.
Residents in the Burt area are entering a third day without water. Repairs to a burst water main in the area are ongoing and are expected to be completed later today. Councillor John Murray says there has been a serious breakdown in communication from Irish Water, with details as to when the supply will be restored unavailable. He says the delay in carrying out repair works is unacceptable.
I spoke to local staff and they've advised me that it will be fixed today, thankfully, but it doesn't in any way lessen the frustration of those residents for 3 days, many with young children, who've been trying to get ready for school, obviously trying to have them washed and stuff. That I suppose it's an extremely frustrating and angering experience for those people.
Staff at Facebook's parent company Meta will find out about redundancies this morning. There are about 3,000 staff employed in Ireland, along with around 6,000 contractors. Notice will go out to the firm's 85,000 employees globally at 11 o'clock Irish time, with details about the next steps. The Taoiseach says the state could lose out on significant corporate taxes if the tech industry is hit further. The message needs to go out that Letterkenny is open for business for Christmas shopping. That's according to Councillor Michael McBride, who has called for an urgent review of traffic flow in the town ahead of the festive season. Donegal County Council has confirmed that a number of issues have been identified, and it is hoped they will be rectified in the coming weeks. Councillor Michael McBride says revenue generated during the Christmas period is vital for the year-round survival of businesses.
We can't bury our head in the sand. We need to make sure that we make as many tweaks as we possibly can to try and ensure that we have a very good positive season, and come the 1st or 2nd week of January, that we don't have people complaining about having a poor Christmas season, you know, in the shops and all that, and Letterkenny.
Donegal County Council is being lobbied once again to tackle dereliction. The recent sitting of the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District heard calls for the local authority to outline what steps have been taken to deal with derelict buildings and sites. Councillor Ciarán Brogan claims very little action has been taken to date. The local council says a lack of resources has exacerbated the issue. Councillor Brogan has welcomed that a meeting will be held to discuss the matter.
There's numerous different areas where there's derelict buildings, derelict houses, and indeed throughout the municipal district in many different towns. So it's something that I look forward to, a special meeting here in January, that we can have a report from the additional staff that the council is bringing on to deal with this section, and hopefully then we can get quarterly reports and what steps have been taken to address it.
Weather now, some showers this morning, easing as the day progresses with highest temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notice is for this Wednesday morning, November the 9th. The death has taken place of Gertie Maguire, 93 Dunteg Road, Omagh. Her remains will repose at her late residence from 6 o'clock this evening. Her funeral will take place on Friday morning in St Mary's Church, Dregish. Burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has occurred of Ronan Kelly, Crossgar, County Down, and formerly Meenavoy and the Glebe Stranorler. Remains reposing at McCool's Chapel of Rest, Ballybuffet, today and tomorrow, with visiting time from 7 o'clock until Rosary at 9 o'clock. Funeral leaving from there on Friday morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass in the Church of Mary Immaculate Stranorler at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in Drumbo Cemetery. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Charlie McColgan, late of 3 St Bridget's Avenue, Derry. Funeral from his daughter's home, 42 St Francis Terrace, tomorrow morning at 10:30 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Pennyburn. Interment afterwards in the city cemetery. Family time from 9 o'clock until 11 o'clock. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of flowers, if wished, to the Alzheimer's Society, Seven Oaks, Derry. The death has occurred of Susan Buffini, née Clay, 12 Thornset Road, London, formerly Woodhill Manor, Cunningham, County Donegal. Susan's funeral will take place on Monday morning in Cheshire at 10:30 at St Mary's RC Church, 2 New King Street, Middlewich. Burial at 12 p.m. at Middlewich Cemetery, Chester Road, Middlewich. The death has occurred of Brendan Shield, Belalt, Castlefin. Brendan's remains are reposing at St Patrick's Church, Crossroads, Killygordon. Requiem Mass will be celebrated this morning at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in St Mary's Cemetery, Castlefin. And the death has occurred of Margaret Evelyn Kelly, née Norris, originally of Tremone, Lekamy, Inishowen. A celebration of Maggie's life will take place at All Souls Church, Elmwood Avenue, Belfast, this afternoon at 2 o'clock. Private cremation service to take place next week. Donations in lieu of flowers to Macmillan Cancer Support. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Good morning. If you are just joining us, let's get to some more of your comments here. We all believe in climate change. This is the natural way of the world. If you look back in history, this has always happened naturally, they say. What's wrong with putting wind farms in the bogs when we're not allowed to do anything else with them? Well, I understand you're talking about the bog cutting in. Well, you can cut turf. It's still legal. They're seen as the lungs of the country, really. I suppose they take bad stuff out of the air. Do our small effort really makes a difference? It feels so disheartening when MNCs eradicate our efforts. Another Greg, ask her why there's no carbon tax on airplane fuel. Well, they're proposing to introduce it. The reason is it would cut pollution by something like 14 or 15%. And the problem with that is because those costs would be passed on to the consumer and less people would fly. So that's why they aren't doing that at the moment. Can you ask, is dog filing found carried out in Buncrana? I'm curious, as the signs are up, the dog filing is still being carried out and I've yet to hear of a fine being issued. As an avid walker, I'm just curious. I'm not quite sure. There was some figures about littering. I'm not sure if it was specific about dog fouling. I mean, how many people are being approached as their dog is doing it and fined? I would say it's very few, if the truth be told. Unfortunately, because it's an ongoing issue, isn't it? Good morning, Greg. Would you give our Christmas toy an appeal mention on your show? It's for disadvantaged children all over Donegal. A very good cause, a great opportunity for the people to give new toys only. Ewan Devaney is your contact. We have a number here. A caller's having serious problems getting through to Electric Ireland. Gets a good 5 minutes to get through the automated options. Then you have to wait 36 minutes to speak to anyone. Why do they not have a callback service instead of expecting people to wait this long? I tried myself, gave in. But I got a text the next day apologising for it, which I thought was really quite gaslighty. I don't want to misuse that word because it's quite a serious thing, but it felt like they were gaslighting me because I know how much of a pain in the ass it was because I couldn't get through. Let's see what they said in their... They did definitely text. Well, from Electric Ireland. Dear customer, we're currently experiencing high volume calls. We apologise that you were not successful in speaking with a representative on your recent contact. You might find the answer to your query on their website now. Whilst you're waiting, all they do is tell you to go to the website. And I went to the website and the solution wasn't there. So I was sitting on the phone for half an hour and then they sent me a message the next day saying, sorry, we'll go back to the website where my answer isn't there. Because, we're not silly. We try these things. So I don't know what you're going to do about that. Maybe they need to hire more staff. The footpath above the Garda station in Carrigans that the council is putting down, I have to say it's a disaster, sticking away out on the road. They can do nothing right, says a caller. I'm not familiar with that. I haven't seen it. How to fix this? Ban flying. Everyone knows flying is the problem. Flying is not the problem. It contributes to it, but flying, I'll get the stats for you because I'm a firm believer in knowing the actual information. It's like people going, oh, China, they're destroying the planet. They aren't. We're worse than they are per head of population. It's not their fault that a lot of them live in the one place. I'm defending China. But also the aircraft, it contributes, but it's not. It's insignificant. If all the planes dropped out of the sky, landed, let's put it like that, it's not going to reverse things. Think we can expect more windmills along with the hundreds already erected here. They are cheaper to build and service on land than out at sea. Hope they've learned to avoid deep bogs and slopes and concentrate in remote non-scenic areas well away from houses. Last year, this government paid €42 million for prize money to horse racing. Well, it's not prize money. 216 horse meetings, so it means that every time there is a meeting, over €100,000 in public money is paid at the Cora, Punchestown, etc. The public is subsidising them. 42 million would pay for 48,000 bed nights a year in hospital, which would help alleviate the waiting lists for the people. Reported on RT's website. It's the horse racing and greyhound industry. I didn't realise it was 42 million. It used to be around about 28, but obviously Minister Charlie McConnell feeling generous this year if it's 42. But yeah, it's not a sport I'm that interested in, people riding around on animals' backs and jumping over hedges. But anyway, okay, we'll take the bingo numbers. Stay where you are. We'll be back. Loads more to come in the 9 till noon show.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, the 9th of November. You're playing on the blue sheet. The reference number is S3. It's game number 45. The numbers are 45, 85, 56, 23, 33, 39, 82, 13, 5, and finally 8. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Are you a self-assessed income taxpayer? Use Ross Revenue's online service to pay and file online by November 16th. If you're not yet registered for Ross, do so today at revenue.ie. Avoid a surcharge, interest, penalties and a possible tax audit. Don't miss the November 16th deadline. Pay and file on time.
True comfort food. What is that? Food you can enjoy a bit more because you know you can trust it. Like pork and bacon with the Boardbia quality mark. It's reassuring to know someone's always out there inspecting how it's produced and where it comes from, so you can enjoy a tasty rasher sandwich, a carbonara, or delicious roast pork. Always choose pork and bacon with the Boardbia quality mark for the highest standards, verified at every stage. And for recipes, visit boardbia.ie/pork and bacon.
Make Christmas easy and get everything exactly when you want it with Dunstore's Christmas pre-order service. Choose a time slot that suits you at dunstoresgrocery.com and start selecting from our range of amazing Irish products, from oak smoked salmon and free-range turkey to Christmas pudding. Then save with automatically applied 10/50 grocery vouchers. Christmas pre-order available now. Make Christmas for everyone at Dunnes Stores. Subject to availability. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €50 or more.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us what... The Lotto jackpot is an estimated €4.2 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
This Black Friday weekend, everyone's on the lookout for a bargain, but you should be on the lookout for fraud. Bank of Ireland are on the lookout for your financial well-being by reminding you to stop, think, check. Stop. Don't just click any old link. Think. Bank of Ireland will never send you texts or emails asking for your full 365 PIN or one-time passcode. And check using their exclusive text checker by sending the word check followed by the Bank of Ireland message to 50365. For more info, search Bank of Ireland Security. And together, we won't let the fraudsters win.
Bank of Ireland. Begin.
Yeah,
Bank of Ireland is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
That's good to know. Right, further to that comment from the listener, they're 100% right. More than €42 million in public funds was paid out in prize money at horse races last year. Horse Racing Ireland projects that a similar amount will be paid out across 390 racing fixtures this year. The owners of racehorses who win the prize money do not have to pay tax on income earned from prizes. However, trainers and jockeys are subject to taxation. Wowzers. So €42 million is just going straight into the pockets of people that own horses. Okay. Thanks for that information, by the way. Right, okay. There's a warning gone out in social media for people to be careful when walking around Drumbo Woods. Lorraine joins us, Lorraine Preston. Hi, Lorraine. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How's it going?
It's going good. Right, you issued this warning. Tell us the background to it, Lorraine.
So I received a phone call from my mammy who'd been at the local women's meeting, and they were warned there not to be going up to Drumbo Woods alone due to an incident that occurred with a lady. A man approached the lady with an empty lead, pretending that he had lost his dog. Then followed her, quickened his pace, trying to get her attention and asking to stop and speak. Now, that's the second incident within a week that I've been made aware of. It's the fourth incident within the last couple of years. And it's just a case of getting out there, because we don't talk about this. Mm-hmm. We need awareness around it. Women need to be vigilant when we're out. Now, I'm not saying don't go to Drumbo Woods. I mean, surely. I mean, it's good for your physical health. It's good for your mental health. It's one of the most beautiful places that we have in the Twin Towns. But go with a friend, go with a relative, go with somebody, because unfortunately at the moment it's not safe if you're on your own.
So in terms of, obviously a bit of consideration went into this by this person, you know, walking around with a dog lead without a dog seemingly. What's the MO beyond that? Do we know what he said to people that he's approached, or is there a sinister, other than it happening and it is sinister in and of itself? Could it be someone that thinks this is a way of meeting new people or something? Do you get where I'm coming from, Lorraine? I'm trying to cover all bases here. It's inexcusable to approach people unsolicited, but you know what I mean? I'm trying to find out more about what's the motivation or what's the tone of the engagement with this person.
Yeah, well, this woman was very scared. So she was made to feel uneasy by the way he was approaching her. So not only with lying about having the missing dog, but the wanting to talk and things like that. But the women, other than this recent incident, have been physically assaulted. I'm not saying the incidents are all related, but we just have to be aware of what's going on out there.
For sure, very worrying. And as you say, I think with that in mind, until such time as there's some progress in an investigation, going with someone else would be very much advisable. Do we know if the Gardaí have been notified, if they've promised any patrols in the area? I don't know if they occasionally walk Drumbo Woods, or maybe perhaps they should.
Occasionally walk. They do occasionally walk the town in Jumbo Woods. As far as I'm aware, the guards have been notified about the incident. I'm not sure about what extra measures they've put in place. But I do think that we have to have some responsibility for ourselves as well.
100%, yeah.
Yes, the guards cannot, but we can also be a little bit more vigilant as well. And if we are aware of these incidents, at least then we can do something about it for ourselves.
I mean, the motivation for that question is that if a person was found to be doing this and dealt with by the Gardaí in the courts, you know, maybe people might feel safer. But maybe, Lorraine, you have the view now that we're in a space whereby, regardless of what happens to this person, that the days of a woman, particularly walking alone in Jumbo Woods, are over.
Unfortunately, I think so. I think that that is the times that we're in. I mean, I'm here 17 years. I moved here with my 2 kids because Mum is from here. I grew up here, coming on holiday. I love the place. It was safe. And that's all gone. I don't feel safe walking down the town on my own now.
Can I ask you more about that, Lorraine? Because is it perception or reality? Why would you not feel safe walking down the down through Ballybofey? What has happened that makes you feel unsafe?
Because of the amount of incidents that I've heard of women being approached, physically and sexually assaulted, and that's what makes me feel unsafe.
Yeah, no, and that's the answer I was expecting. I just wanted to hear it from you, because that's really worrying, Lorraine.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's the times that we're in. And unless we speak about it, and unless we get it out there, and that was the motivation of putting it up on Facebook, because I had warned another female friend and highlighted it to them, and they were like, "We need to let people know." She was like, "Put it up on Facebook, share it," and that's what I did, and it went like wildfire. And I'm glad it went like wildfire, because now people are aware. People will just think maybe. Have that second thought before they go out on their own and take somebody, and it might save them from being approached or for something more sinister.
Right. If anyone's had experiences like that and they're comfortable or prepared to share, 08660 25,000. But Lorraine, you're satisfied that, you know, posts on social media, and I hope this is not in any way a bad question, but posts on social media that contain fear are going to get more reaction. Do you know what I mean? And obviously this is going to make people worry, right? And people are going to share it because it triggers something inside us. Yep. Like, is this level of fear, you're confident it's justified from your experiences, from what you've heard? You believe that it is time that we have to say, right, okay, we do have to be cautious around our twin towns now?
Oh, definitely, without a doubt. You know, we, unfortunately, as a society, have kept things hush-hush, and what will the neighbours say, and we'll brush it under the carpet and things like that. But if we don't speak out, if we don't highlight that, if we don't create that little bit of fear of, you know, what is out there, the reality of what is out there, then we can be unsuspecting.
Yeah, but that has to be proportionate to risk, though, or we live our lives in constant fear of everything, Lorraine.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, but the risks are increasing. Unfortunately, in the twin towns, the risk is increasing and the danger is real, and we have to be aware of that.
And I hope you don't think my line of question is in any way questioning that, Lorraine. I just want to tease it out in its fullness. I just hope you understand that. I know you do, but I just want the listeners to know that I'm not in any way challenging you. I just want to tease the convo out a bit more. Right, the Caherlock of the the Caherlock of Ballybofey and Stranorla Municipal District, Patrick McGowan, joins us as well. Patrick, and a text just dropped into my inbox here. How many years are women being told not to walk alone, especially in Jumbo Woods? It's known to have people drinking in there. It's not a safe place. Is this news to you, or is this an issue that has been raised with you in the past, Patrick?
Good morning, Lorraine. Good morning, Greg. Yeah, look, from time to time, you do get reports of people, particularly maybe single women or something like that, kind of going through the woods and maybe been approached by somebody. And as you say, sometimes you don't know if they're intoxicated or if they're ill intentions or if just some lonely person or something. But like, I think, you know, and it's around this time last year, it'll be January now, like when we had the Ashleen Murphy incident down in Tullamore, and I think I think everybody now is a wee bit more aware when you see what can happen to a young woman just out doing her business. But when you bear in mind, Ballybofey and Sonora is probably the safest place in Ireland, or even anywhere in the world. The amount of antisocial behaviour, it is a very family-friendly town. There's no nightclubs. There's not a lot of sort of antisocial behaviour going on. But saying that, Lorraine's 100% right. We have to highlight this stuff. We need our Gardaí to investigate. So it's so important to know if this is a one-off incident, if it's different people doing it, if it's something's developing. So it's only the Gardaí can gather the information.
Yeah, but we need to be satisfied they are.
And sort of find out what the trends are.
Yeah, but can we be satisfied that they are? I mean, is this something that you might raise or get a colleague to raise at a JPC meeting? I mean, do they recognise that this is an issue? Are they going to change how they might patrol our towns and villages to make people feel safer? I don't think I would feel really safe walking in Drumbo Woods at dusk on my own. I don't know if it's a male-female thing. Personally, it'd be something I would try and avoid, but maybe I'm just a naturally cautious person. But I mean, so another caller says, as a woman in Ballybofey, I always used to walk in the woods but wouldn't. Now don't feel safe. Used to know everyone. Now I don't know half the population. But, if more people move into an area, the population is going to change. The day where you leave your back door open and everyone knows everyone, I mean, those are bygone days, never to return, I suggest. So, in other words, do we have to adapt our policing to make people feel safe? We can't have the public thinking this.
Yeah, we do, and we need the public. There's not going to be a Gardaí at every corner, so we need the public to assist to get the guards so they can be more efficient. But certainly, Drumbo Woods is a very, very busy place as well, because you have one of probably the biggest athletic clubs in the country and other sports, and they're out running and walking through it regularly. But even then, you just can never be certain. And that's the same about going through towns and back streets and even out in the countryside. You just do. Unfortunately, you just do. You have to be alert out there. You have to be aware. And, it is good that it does put up on social media and the likes of Highland Radio, because we don't want to hear about an incident, someone thinking this place is safe and it's not safe. And we do have to be on the alert, but we do have to ensure that the Gardaí get this information immediately, because they can pull together a lot of different reports, and some people are not sure, and they can sit down and see is there a trend,
but sometimes, with all due respect though, I get what you're saying, but sometimes the response has to be more nuanced, because how do you report someone that made you feel uncomfortable? In your heart of hearts that this is an unsafe situation. They've approached you pretending to have a dog when they don't. They don't necessarily say anything insulting to you, or they don't actually, physically reach for you, but that know they've made you feel uncomfortable. You suspect they might follow you. Do you know what I mean? Like the Gardaí would need to.
Well, it's the same as in this incident. Look, the people who are involved in that's another incident just had that feeling there's something wasn't right. And these things need to be going forward, because it's not just about yourself. You can just think in an hour later somebody else could be stopped. It could be an Ashley Murphy case again, and we don't want that to happen. So no matter what it is, whether it's break-ins or antisocial behaviour, we need to look out and be aware of what's going on. It's a big, wide world now, and we're an open society, and we do need to be careful. We don't want to overreact. But we need to be careful all the time. We have a lot of incidents now of break-ins and everything else. And, nothing has changed since last year, the year before, and it happens in all towns. We just need to be a bit more alert, and just, we have a habit now of living behind locked gates, and everybody goes in and closes the door and sort of just, good luck. And we just need to be a bit more aware when we're out and we see things happening in our towns and things like that. We just need to inform the Gardaí. It's easy for the Gardaí to put it down.
We need them to do their. We need them to do their job too. I understand what you're saying, but we aren't the guards. We can help. We can help, right? We can help. We can be the eyes and ears. And I've said that yesterday during the Garda Community Information. But at the same time, too, you, if there is a sense that there is nervousness or cautiousness in a particular area of a town, have someone cycle or walk through it. You know what I mean? That's kind of a community response. The Gardaí know nothing about this. Apparently in Dublin anyway, the centralised, we contacted the Garda press officers, you have to do. They say they'd done a search for November so far. Nothing reported in the Ballybofey convoy or Castlefin stations along the lines of someone being approached in Drumbo Woods.
See,
So
this is it now. See, and
now
this-
that doesn't
this
mean it
is,
wasn't reported
like,
either, by the way, Patrick.
No, but I'm saying, that's just the point I'm trying to make and trying to emphasise. It's grand talking among ourselves and maybe the family members, but we just have to go that wee bit further. And like, for example, in Ballybofey scenario, if they go to the gas station, or if they feel that it might be important, even if they drop onto the base there in Stonarla, that's a community-based centre, and they will take it, and we will gather up the information there, and then go to the guards with it. The Chamber of Commerce is very active in this stuff, and they want to know if there's any incidents or trends emerging, and they'd be ringing their superintendents all the time.
I want to go back to Lorraine there. Sorry, your line dropped a little bit. Lorraine, so then in terms of talking about increased patrols, maybe even CCTV, I'm not sure what kind of coverage there is in there. Are we past that then now, really? Is this about changing our behaviour, maybe advising our younger people that there's a new reality, let's just put it like that? Or do you think that maybe we can still do things in terms of, eyes and ears, us being the eyes and ears of the guards, as I say, increase guarded patrols, or maybe even increase CCTV? Or are those things that'd be nice, but they're not really going to make any difference to the appeal that you're making today?
I think, a mixture really of the two. I think that the guards can up their game slightly, but I also think that us as individuals have a responsibility, and the public do as well. And there is a new reality, unfortunately, out there, however much we don't want it to be. Times are changing. The town's changing, the population's changing, and with that, our lives are changing.
Yeah, okay. A caller says, "Hi Greg, myself and my child were walking in Drumbo Woods a few months ago, and we too were followed by a male. He did not approach us, but I was very aware he was following us and watching us. As soon as we safely got out of the woods, I reported it to the Gardaí. I wonder if they returned since. That's the kind of thing we're talking about." Right, okay, Lorraine, it's... Like, I would like to sort of say loads of things and like, in other words, are we seeing a lot of cases where people are being assaulted or injured and, maybe we're not, and then maybe we shouldn't be so cautious? But I can't really say that because this is people's experiences, Lorraine. They felt worried, and we don't necessarily have to wait until something happens before we change our behaviours to keep ourselves safe, I suppose.
Yeah, and I would also like to encourage people, to talk about it. Sometimes these things happen and they go unreported, or they go untalked about. Open up and say, this has happened to me. There's no shame in it. There's nothing wrong with it. At least then we're aware.
I get you, and I think maybe, if I'm reading between the lines, Lorraine, from your Facebook post, lots of people have maybe had experiences or have concerns, but there's been no conversation about it really until such time as there was a post for people to comment under.
Yeah. And that's, it's sort of done its job. It's created that conversation. It's created that awareness. And obviously, I know you mentioned fear, but it's not about fear, it's about being vigilant, taking care of ourselves.
No, and I get it 100%. And I would have posted it the same if someone had sent it to me, Lorraine. I wasn't calling you out on that. I get it. I understand exactly where you're coming from.
You're right.
I know why I'm so cautious. Neither of the two of you found this fellow walking around Ballybofey with the swimming pool pump, no? I don't know if you've seen there's a fake page going around Ballybofey and Stranraer or something or other. And there's a fellow walking around apparently with a swimming pool pump. Okay, it must be a scam.
Just one point that you were making, Greg.
Go ahead.
CCTV. There is a CCTV network now going to be installed in Ballybofey. It's very advanced stage. It's passed now here. It's taken us a couple of years to get through it, and there was a lot of issues. There'll only be 6, and they'll be on the main street, and that's because of data protection and civil liberties and that. Like, we looked for about 12. But you just wouldn't be allowed to put them up in Drumbo Woods and places like that there. That there has to be a lot of logic behind
how does the
going.
GDPR legislation... Sorry, how does it distinguish between the woods and the main street?
It's you have to. You just can't put them outside. The Gardaí and that have to come up with, say, where there's sort of crime likely to happen. It just wouldn't. Small villages and back streets and things like that will not be getting them. Otherwise, they're going to be ever.
You know what's going to happen, don't you? It's going to push antisocial behaviour to where the cameras aren't.
Well, and it's where the big volumes of traffic and people are and things to get there, rather than, because otherwise you're going to have them everywhere. And look, it took us nearly 3, 4, 5 years to get that CCTV. Letterkenny has 6, and it's taken them as long to get another 6. So they're forwarding with Ballybofey and Stonora. But look, at the end of the day, nothing is going to repeat. Okay. People taking civic responsibility, looking out about their neighbours, whether it's young, old, or women walking. We all just up our game a wee bit. Now, there's another thing too.
I don't want to. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I don't want to absolve though the Gardaí, the judiciary, the legislators, all of those. Right, we're living in the world that they are controlling and have created at the same time. Do you know what I mean? So in terms of crime, in terms of enforcement, in terms of people actually serving time for quite serious. You know what I mean? We're living in this space they've created.
Yeah, I'm already on the news this morning on Highland Radio. I've been quite critical of Gardaí regarding the beggars in the street and what we see as people trafficking, and these people are just moved on. But there's something sinister going on there, and I would certainly be critical of the Gardaí. And the fact that they're not following up investigations is grand.
I've seen myself those poor people being picked up in BMWs, very expensive BMWs.
Yeah, they're being exploited and stuff. So it's no good moving the problem on. We need it as in Ballybofey, Letterkenny, Sligo, whatever it is, we need to deal with it. And our local Gardaí, it's like all our employees, the nurses and the frontline people are doing their best. It's the superintendents need to get on, and if they're short of a manpower, they need to say it. If they don't want to say it, and Highland Radio, come to the local council and politicians, and we will pass it on up the line. That has happened in the past. We ended up with 4 sergeants in Ballybofey and over 20 guards simply because we were down and we worked together with the supers and the Gardaí, and we need to work together. We're all at the one on this, and we all want to have a nice, peaceful enjoyment, and people want to get up and go to their work and rear their families, and we need to work together, and that's it.
All right then, thank you, Lorraine. Last word to you, just to reiterate it, just to be careful out there.
Lovely. Thank you, Greg.
Okay. Thanks, Lorraine, for your time, by the way. I appreciate you accepting the invite, okay? Take care. That is Lorraine Preston there. You also heard from Councillor Patrick McGowan. Any experiences of that? 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps or text. A caller says, Councillor McGowan says there are no nightclubs and there's little antisocial behaviour in Ballybofey. Is he saying there is a link between them? Well, listen, I think it's pretty obvious, isn't it, that there is. We hear an awful lot of crime at 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Street crime, people being beaten up, assaulted. It wouldn't happen if everyone was in bed. And they wouldn't be out if there wasn't a nightlife. It's part of it, but it doesn't mean you give up. You police it. Terribly worrying about the woods, says this listener. Carry your mobile video or camera. Shoot the potential perpetrator. Better safe than sorry, but this is very sad. Well spoken, Lorraine. A wee bit nervous about that too, though. Sometimes best just to get out of there rather than sort of pointing a camera at people. You could find yourself in more bother. But anyway, listen, that's just something triggers in the back of my head with a suggestion like that, but I respect and appreciate it. One day I was walking down the street in Stranraer and these men hopped out of a car and gave a man a thumping right in front of me. This kind of thing is happening every day and people are turning a blind eye. I think I might know the case you're talking about there. Right, back after the break.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Do you need to switch your Ulster Bank loan or overdraft? We are now offering competitive low-rate switcher loans and MyCU current account with overdraft.
TV on its last legs. Black Friday sales around the corner. If you're looking for more financial flexibility, look no further than the An Post Money Flex or Classic Credit Card powered by MasterCard. With 2 great cards to choose from, you can pick the one that's right for you and feel in control again. Make your money stretch a bit further. Search An Post Money Credit Card and untangle your money today. Lending criteria, T's and C's apply. An Post acts as a credit intermediary on behalf of Avantcard DAC. An Post trading as An Post Money is authorised as a credit intermediary by the CCPC. Avantcard DAC trading as Avant Money is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. The An Post Money Credit MasterCard is issued by Avantcard DAC pursuant to licence by MasterCard.
There's always a buzz in Dublin, but there's something extra special about Dublin at winter time. Experience a whole lot of live entertainment this November. From buskers and bands to theatre and musicals. Enjoy comedy gigs, concerts, and even music trails. It's time to make some noise. It's time to make some plans. Make your plans today at visitdublin.com. Winter in Dublin. It's magic. Brought to you by Fáilte Ireland.
Adult Safeguarding Day takes place this month. An important step to prevent adult abuse is to respect and support everybody's right to decision making, including if someone is frail or living with a disability or serious illness. It's also essential to respond to adult abuse. If someone is at an immediate risk of harm, call 999 or 112. If worried about an ongoing concern, contact your safeguarding team at hse.ie/safeguarding. From Safeguarding Ireland, supported by the HSE, safeguardingday.ie.
Donegal Creamery's Milk and Homeland stores have teamed up to reward their loyal customers with €10 off. Just collect 30 tokens from Donegal Creamery's Milks and receive a €10 off voucher, which can be redeemed in one of 34 Homeland stores or on homeland.ie when you spend €50 or more on fuel, feed, garden, agri-pet, paint and more. Limited time offer, so start collecting tokens from Donegal Creamery's Milk today.
Century Complex gift cards are the perfect gift this Christmas. Our gift cards can be used throughout the complex in Backstage Bar and Grill, Century Cinemas and Century Play. Available in-store at Century Complex. Call us on 074 912 1976 or check out our website centurycinemas.ie for more information.
Swing into Christmas with the Rat Pack, live at the Griannan Theatre, Letterkenny, December 14th. Direct from London's Leicester Square, and for one night only, enjoy classics from Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin. Tickets from Anne Griannan Theatre box office and annegriannan.com. Presented by Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
Letterkenny CDP present their 21st birthday celebration. View their display of past and present photos and memorabilia, followed by an intercultural fashion show in Radisson Blue Hotel this Wednesday, the 9th of November, from 6 p.m. till 11 p.m. Everyone is welcome. For full programme of events, see Letterkenny CDP on Facebook.
Okie dokie, welcome back to the programme. A caller says, please warn older people reclosing Ulster and KBC accounts. It's difficult for them. Warn them how, Grania? If you have any advice, get in touch with us. It's hard to get an appointment to do it. But certainly the accounts are going to be frozen. I think some accounts at least are going to be frozen by Ulster Bank in any case soon. So it's something, if you haven't got on top of, you would probably need to. We were speaking to Taryn yesterday. She called on Bossaran to try and advise people or enforce people not to, yourself, watching TikTok or YouTube or playing a game or music loud on their phone. It's annoying for other passengers. And also it can be quite difficult for people with sensory issues. Well, this caller says, I agree with the speaker regarding disruption on Bossaran. People having loud phone conversations and listening to devices without headphones. I've travelled extensively on buses in other countries where there's an announcement at every passenger pickup point stating that phone conversations should be kept brief and private and headphones should be used while listening to devices, which I think is not unreasonable. Another caller says, hi, I do not have sensory issues, but I agree with the caller. Rebus journeys and people constantly on their phone talking loudly throughout their journey. Really annoying, particularly on the Dublin Express. Interesting that she says it annoys her because of her sensory issues. Is it possible that the person on the phone had Tourette's or was autistic? Should she too be more considerate? Well, is it possible? Yeah. But does it mean that she's not perfectly entitled to have her say and may well be right? I would suggest no. Hi, Greg. Would have to agree with that last text about the footpath in Carrigan's beside the Garda station. But, Greg, I'm not surprised. Okay, anyone got a picture of that just so we get an idea of what's going on? Horse racing is the second or third most popular sport in Ireland and we make a lot of money out of it in terms of tourism and employs so many people. It's not popular here but massive down the country. I get you. I understand. I hear what you're saying. But it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. There's other industries that could do with that money. There's other services that could do with it. In terms of tourism and its employment. Well, let the council supply recycling facilities and don't charge the public an arm and a leg to use these facilities. That's about dumping there. Let's take some music, and it is from the Henry Girls. Right, that is the Henry Girls there, and their song is No Matter What You Say. Back talking about traffic in Letterkenny again. It's an important issue, of course, after these messages.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie. The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Wetsuit on and underwater by 8.
Aprons on, breakfast orders in, conversation flowing, loving every second.
Every day is different. There's always new faces. It really suits me.
It fits my schedule. I can see friends, do my yoga, balance work with life, and enjoy both.
My career in tourism works for me.
And mine works for me.
Get a career in tourism that works for you. Visit tourismcareers.ie. Brought to you by Fáilte Ireland.
Unbeatable value, unbeatable range, unbeatable prices, unbeatable customer service. Whether you're looking for a pre-owned car, a new car, car servicing or parts, find out why iMotors is Donegal's favourite car dealership. Visit imotors.ie or call into our showrooms in Letterkenny or Malin.
Celebrating the 25th anniversary of the first Joe Dolan Bundoran Music Festival, a spectacular Christmas party night at the Allingham Arms Hotel on Friday, December the 16th, with the sensational Joe Dolan Show, Remembering Joe, featuring 5 vocalists with the Dolan family and the original Joe Dolan Band, cabaret dinner and accommodation if required. Now booking at the Allingham Arms or online at showtours.ie. Revive the 90s in Bundoran on December the 16th at the Allingham.
Listen up, pet lovers. Feed your pets for less at Pet Value Buncrana. Get Whiskas 80-pack pouches for only €30. Royal Canin puppy range now 20% off. 15 kg bags of dog food starting at €16.50. Get more value at Pet Value. St Mary's Road, Buncrana. Open 7 days a week. Find us on Facebook.
All ready for next year? We are, with our award-winning Seat SUVs, the bold crossover Arona, the family favourite Ateca, and the spacious 7-seater Tarraco. All ready with great PCP finance offers and a service plan for just $9.99 a month. Available to order at DMG Motors, Claw Road, Donegal Town. Book a test drive today. Visit seat.ie to find your 231 SUV. Finance provided by Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland, trading as Seat Financial Services. Subject to lending criteria. Terms and conditions apply. Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland Limited, trading as Seat Financial Services, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
SafeTech are running a number of part-funded programs before the end of the year, to include 7-day basic scaffolding, electro and butt fusion welding, HACCP, first aid, fire safety, plant, confined spaces, crane supervisor, UK construction cards and much more. Call SafeTech on 074 9127786 or visit safetech.ie.
Okay, as you can imagine, the conversation is happening out there. It's also happening at council meetings, and this is the issue of traffic in Letterkenny and the impact it's having on, the residents' lives, the people's lives, commercial activity and the jobs they support, and also, I suppose, shoppers. Are they going to go elsewhere? Is it that bad? Councillor Michael McBride, you think it's that bad that people are just going to head to the north?
Good morning, Greg. I would like, from the start off, to point out that I just brought a motion in front of council yesterday to make sure that we as a council do everything that we possibly can to make sure that traffic flows as well as it possibly can in and around Letterkenny in the run up to Christmas and right through the January sales. And I want this to go out as a positive message that Letterkenny is open for business. And I would ask people to come in and support the business people in Letterkenny, in the run up to the Christmas season. And, they are our ratepayers. They're the people, that help Donegal County Council deliver the services. And I don't think, that we should be sending out a negative message, because that's not what this is about. This is about making it run as well as it possibly can right over the holiday season.
And I think we covered a lot of that in our last conversation. I just wanted an update and maybe sort of to give the public an insight into council meetings, because you flagged the issues. You and other councillors have flagged the issues. You are elected by the people, you represent the people and represent the businesses. The local authority has a great deal of influence on this. So you said, right, there is a serious concern here. We're going to take it to the local authority. We're going to express our concerns as elected representative, representing the people and businesses, and then we'll see what will come from that. So what has been promised to you from the council to address your concerns, which are reflective of a lot of people's concerns out there. What is the big solution that the council is proposing for this?
Well, going back to last Friday, Greg, we had a meeting with the people that are delivering the foxes who are delivering the 4-lane project in Letterkenny, and that's the first thing. It's one of the main veins into the town, and we discussed at length, their project going forward, and they've given assurances to us, that they're going to make sure that traffic flows freely into Letterkenny right through the festive season, and I think that's very important.
Did they explain how the project might go up to 10 million, or was that mentioned, or was that referenced?
That wasn't discussed at the meeting with Foxes.
Okay.
And
did they talk about staffing levels on the route? Are they going to increase the amount of workers on it?
I think that at the environs that they're working on are so confined that they think that it's not going to be any help to increase the staff numbers on it.
But
that's
sure,
what they're telling us.
Reduce it to 2 lanes and work overnight, like the original contract stated.
Well, we discussed everything with them.
Okay, listen, we'll leave that. I don't think we're going to get anywhere with that conversation. It's not necessarily your fault, but anyway, we'll just be treated like mushrooms, kept in the dark and fed BS. Not by you, but anyway, that's what happens when you try and get answers. Nothing is forthcoming, not from you again, but as it relates to that project, it's obviously shrouded in secrecy for some reason or other. And we're paying for it. We're supposed to use it, and we're patted on the head and say, "Oh, sure, look, we're doing our best. We'll keep it open 4 lanes coming up to Christmas." Those are very specific answers that we really need in relation to that project. But anyway, further beyond into that, of course, you raised the issue as well of the traffic lights at the IT. You've got a new road trying to feed into that, not very well thought out. Other problems with traffic lights around the town. So, getting down to my original question, what did the council commit to you to solve these problems as best as possible for the consumer and the commercial operators?
Well, they've already identified some of the areas where they think that some of the problems are stemming from, and I think the bottom of the Rosemount Lane is one of them. We've also talked there yesterday about the traffic lights out at the IT, and they're going to go around and try and put in all the things that they possibly can to get traffic flowing as best as possibly can around Letterkenny and the run up to Christmas, Greg. And I think it's important that we work with Garda
So
Síochána.
the solution is the council's going to go out and look at traffic lights.
That's correct. I mean, you have to go out and look and see where the pressure points are and see if there's anything that can be changed, with the timing on lights and stuff, to keep the traffic flowing as best as possibly can. So if we can support the business people in Letterkenny and make it a good experience for people that's coming in to shop in the town in Letterkenny and the run up to Christmas and right through the new year.
So you're satisfied from the response and the conversation that it's going to be a more enjoyable experience getting into and around Letterkenny over Christmas?
Well, Greg, I don't have a crystal ball in front of me, to be honest about it.
What's your best guess then?
I'll tell you what I did do. I brought the motion in the right spirit to try and make sure that we as a council do everything that we possibly can to make sure that the traffic flows at its optimum level. We do know that the infrastructure in Letterkenny is not what we would all like it to be.
Listen, just in relation to just in relation to the infrastructure not being what we'd like it to be, right? Those lights are relatively new at the IT. That road, that relief road or whatever it is brand new at the IT. Like, this is not something we inherited from 40 generations ago. This is the planning currently. These are new projects. These are new problems that have been created recently, right? So we don't really have to deal with it because it's not our fault this stuff was put in and now problems have been created, Councillor. Is it really? You know what I mean? We need to make sure we don't make the same mistakes going forward, I would suggest.
Well, Greg, I would argue with you, that the Joe Boner Road, I think, has been a positive thing. And I think, for people who are working and driving in around the town, they'll tell you, that there's a lot more traffic starting to use that road. A lot more people are getting used to it. And I certainly wouldn't put that down as a negative. And when we have a road like that joining the Port Road and the Neil T. Blaney Road, I think it's important that you have lights so it's safe for people to get in and out on both sides. And, I think, we shouldn't be putting a negative spin on it. I think that's a positive thing in the town, to be honest.
Right, so as that meets the road approaching the IT, and the traffic is already back from the traffic lights from the IT to the Polestar roundabout, and then that new traffic now is trying to edge its way into that traffic. So you have people now sitting at 3 or 4 changes of traffic lights, whereas before they might have got through on one change. You think that's good? That's good road planning. That works well.
Well, Greg, we have to deal with the volume of traffic that's in the town.
Okay.
I mean, and to be fair about it, you know, I'll be on that Court Road quite regularly myself, and sometimes in the evening time you do have a bit of tailback, but in fairness to it, it is moving. And I think that's what's important, that traffic moves and that people are able to get from A to B. You know, at times when you have high volumes of traffic, you're not going to move as fast. We understand that. But I wouldn't want a negative picture going out there either. I think, in the run up to Christmas, we need to put out the message that Letterkenny is open for business and that we are doing everything we can with the infrastructure that's there to provide as good an experience for the people as we possibly can.
This is recent infrastructure that was created. This is not historical infrastructure. This is new infrastructure that we're having to deal with. That's the point I was trying to make. You know what I mean? These are new things. The 4-lane project was undertaken when there was already 4 lanes there. Do you know what I mean? We decided to go ahead with that. The timelines weren't met. It's running now into another Christmas, and because it's what did you say? Because it's a tight site, you can't have more people working on it. Is that what you said?
That's what Foxes are telling us. They say because they're trying to keep the lanes open, the environs that they're working on in each section are so tight. They said that there's no help to put any extra people onto it, and that's what the contractors are telling us. Okay. I'm not in the construction business, but
you're in the driving business. You're in the driving business.
Well,
you drive around like.
You know what? To be fair about it, it has run over, and there's no doubt about that. But I would like to think that road will be open and people will be able to get through it fairly freely now in the run up to Christmas. And I think that's what we have to be looking at here, Greg. And that's the spirit that by motion was brought in to the council meeting yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Okay, listen, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. I really do. That's Councillor Michael McBride there, an independent. 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and text that number, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. A spokesperson for Evolve Menswear says the community centre lights are turning people away as well. It's not just the 4-lane project and the bumper-to-bumper traffic Letterkenny is subject to. That's from a very good business as well in the town. Those are the people whose views I'm interested in. Anyone else involved in the business industry that wants to have their say, please get in touch with us.
Cutting through the spin. The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Okay, it's 11 o'clock. Let's get a news update. And we say good morning once again to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Serious concerns have been raised over the legitimacy of some people begging in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet. The Cahirlock of the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District claims what appears to be fraud beggars are being bussed into Letterkenny and are intimidating people on the streets. Meanwhile, Councillor Patrick McGowan is of the belief that it is a form of organised crime. He says he has witnessed on a number of occasions people claiming to be begging, being dropped off in Ballybuffet and later picked up. Both councillors are calling on Gardaí to intervene. It appears Stormont MLAs are about to be hit with a pay cut. It comes 9 months on from the collapse of the devolved administration in Belfast. The Northern Ireland Secretary will update the House of Commons later on his plans to restore power sharing. Well, the Green Party leader thinks an election in Northern Ireland should happen sooner rather than later in order to get Stormont back up and running. Transport Minister Eamon Ryan says if it is the only option, it should happen quickly. Just under €1 trillion a year will be needed to keep the planet from warming further. A report by a group at COP27 shows that figure is expected to grow over the next decade. The message needs to go out that Letterkenny is open for business for Christmas shopping. That's according to Councillor Michael McBride, who has called for an urgent review of traffic flow in the town ahead of the festive season. Residents in Burt are without water for a third day. Repairs to a burst water main in the area are ongoing and are expected to be completed later today. Councillor Jack Murray says there has been a serious breakdown in communication from Irish Water, with details as to exactly when the supply will be restored unavailable. And Donegal County Council is being lobbied once again to tackle dereliction. The recent sitting of the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District heard calls for the local authority to outline how derelict buildings and sites are being dealt with. Councillor Ciarán Brogan claims very little action has been taken to date. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Michaela, thank you very much indeed. Back after the break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Seasonal loans now available for Christmas. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
In Aldi, French blend coffee 227 grams is $1.69. In Super Value, French style coffee 227 grams is $2.59. Just saying. And it's not just French coffee we're talking about. Swapping to Aldi could save you over €69 on your big family shop compared to Super Value. Ooh la la! Now that is amazing. Aldi, every day amazing. Comparing own label or equivalent brands. Lowest pro rata use check 20th of the 9th, 2022. Excluding offers, products and prices may vary. Details at aldi.ie/swap.
Massive stock clearance promotion now on at Haggerty's Home Interiors Buncrana. See the best selection of sofas, beds and sliding robes, all at unbeatable prices with free delivery included. Our best sale items include 4'6" bed set, mattress base and headboard was €499, now €379 for the lot. Get an extra €100 off any recliner suite, electric or manual. See the best selection and the best priced sliding robes in Ireland, with lots more offers throughout the store. Haggerty's Home Interiors Buncrana. Great furniture, always better prices.
Is the appearance of your staff important to your business? It's the first point of contact for customers when entering your premises. At C&M Embroidery in Letterkenny, they have a huge range of clothing covering all areas of the workplace. It's widely known that customers warm to and trust employees that present themselves well. Have your company name embroidered or printed on all your work uniforms. Contact C&M Embroidery on 07491 28097 and get your staff looking their best.
Connolly's Audi Sligo are returning with their Future Now test drive event, taking place on Saturday 19th and Sunday 20th November at Letterkenny Golf Club. Call in from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We will be showcasing our fantastic range of cars for the entire weekend. To avoid disappointment, order your new 231 Audi today with Connolly's Audi Sligo. Visit connolly's.ie to see our full range.
Join Marty Friel this and every Friday night from 8 till 10 with Rockin' Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7 Letterkenny. Check out Arena 7 Bowling, perfect for parties or work nights out. For packages and bookings, visit arena7.ie.
Candles, lanterns, Christmas trees, decorations and all types of lights. Everything you need for Christmas. Experience the magic of Christmas at Cooney's. Our biggest and best Christmas shop has outstanding value on lights and trees. There really is something for everyone at Cooney's Letterkenny Retail Park.
Now, November marks Global Lung Cancer Awareness Month. We're joined on the programme now by Cancer Prevention Manager with the Irish Cancer Society, Kevin O'Hagan. Good morning to you, Kevin. Thanks for joining us.
Very much indeed.
It's good to have you with us. Right, okay. Now, a particular focus of this interview is about, I suppose, early detection of lung cancer. And I know cost has been identified as an issue here, but also in terms of actually getting an appointment with your GP. Within this county I sit, Kevin, it's a very different experience for people dependent on where they are. Some might get an appointment in an afternoon, others are given an appointment 2 or 3 weeks out. So those things combined presumably are going to be a problem in terms of early diagnosis.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge, Greg, and it's really worrying that people who perhaps have symptoms and really serious symptoms very often are not coming forward and getting the healthcare they need. And that's a real concern for us. And as you mentioned, there's a global lung cancer awareness month. And unfortunately, lung cancer is still the leading cause of cancer death in the country. And we have huge numbers there, 2,700 people diagnosed every year. And that's set to double. So we really do want to focus on the importance of early detection of lung cancer, because we know that about 6 in 10 of these cancers are diagnosed at a late stage, actually in very often in A&E. Centre. So it's really important that we encourage people to come forward, to have that conversation about lung cancer and to be aware of the signs and symptoms. And that's really what what our campaign is about at the moment.
Half of the people listening to us may not be aware of the signs and symptoms, so should we start there?
Yeah, absolutely. Because research we've done, we know that about 1 in 2 people are not confident about spotting those signs, and very often they're very straightforward, and we confuse them perhaps with something not very serious, but together they can be quite serious. So we're talking about wheezing or difficulty breathing, a cough that doesn't go away, or a change in a long-term cough, repeated chest infections that won't go away even after you have had antibiotics. One that's often referred to as this coughing up blood, which is very serious, obviously, or blood-stained phlegm.
Do you think that people might be inclined to wait for that? You know, they will attribute it to something else, because we probably are a little bit conditioned to sort of maybe try and look away from the worst. They might wait until there is some spotting or blood in phlegm. That's something... I don't know where that might happen in terms of the development of the cancer, but I think the other things you mentioned are really strong early warning signs, because even if you go to the doctor and it's not lung cancer, maybe it could be COPD or something along those lines. So for many reasons, as well as the early detection of cancer, get to your GP if you can.
Absolutely, Greg. And people do live with this wheezing or difficulty breathing, or maybe if they've been smoking for a period of time, they live with that cough and kind of ignore it till it gets really bad. So obviously, as you say, these are pointing to lung health issues, and it may not be cancer at all, and hopefully it isn't. But these symptoms can be caused by anything. But it's really important to get them checked out, you know. And even if you're feeling more tired than usual, you have a loss of appetite, there's little signals there to say there's something not quite right, and you need to come forward.
Yeah.
And that's really what we want to encourage people to do.
Exactly. And I think with those situations, there is something wrong. We hope it's not cancer, but there is, you know, you shouldn't be living with a reduced appetite, a wheeze, or a cough, or less energy. You know, you shouldn't be living with that regardless of what it is. So there's no reason at all to ignore those signs that you've mentioned.
Absolutely not. And you know, people, as you mentioned, might find it difficult to get to their doctor or whatever. But we're encouraging people even call us at the Irish Cancer Society. We have a free phone support line there to talk to one of our nurses. That's 1-800-200-700. Or go onto our website and just find out more about lung cancer. We have a little lung health checker online, which brings you through a set of those symptoms, and you can do that little quiz online. It gives you a bit of a steer on those symptoms. But yeah, we don't want people living with these conditions, and the earlier this cancer is picked up, the prognosis is much better, and that's really important.
It is the greatest killer, very sadly. It's the greatest cause of death in this country. That doesn't mean it's necessarily the most prevalent, does it? Is that down to detection and treatment, or what's the balance there?
Yeah, well, we have very high figures of lung cancer in the country. And again, I think we have a long history of high smoking rates in the country, and we're probably seeing the impact of that now. But it's not just about smoking, and I don't want to kind of stigmatize people either around that, because there are other factors. And in fact, anyone with lungs can in fact get lung cancer. And you know, if you've been exposed to various chemicals, asbestos or pollutants over your period of life, you know, there's a real danger that your risk increases. So that's really important to be aware of that as well.
Yeah.
It's not just the smokers. So.
Of course, and I understand that. So just to be clear, 2,700 people are diagnosed with lung cancer in Ireland each year. 6 in 10 lung cancers are diagnosed at stage 3 or 4, and that reduces the patient's eligibility for curative treatment and reduces survival. So the majority of people, whether they've noticed or they've ignored, haven't noticed the symptoms or the signs, or they've ignored them. The majority of people are, you know, the cancer has progressed really quite significantly before they are identified as cancer patients.
Yeah, and I think people just underplay these symptoms, you know, think that they're not that serious, and they're not, you know, they're nothing to be worried about, and just they can live with them. But yeah, we're encouraging people to go along, get checked out, and then you're very clear what needs to happen and how you can improve your lung health. I think it's important, Greg, to mention also that we're running a roadshow in Letterkenny actually next week, which will focus on allowing people the opportunity to talk about their symptoms, to talk to a nurse, and just to get a basic health check done, and that's something we've been offering across the country. We've actually been to about 23 shopping centres over the last year and a half, and it's something we're now bringing to Letterkenny next week. And so it's an opportunity for the public to come along, talk to one of our nurses, do the little lung health check, get some basic health information, and we would hope that would encourage people to come forward and have that conversation about lung health.
I think the earlier people realise the damage the likes of smoking, and we are yet to really know what impact vaping has on people's lungs. It's from the get-go now. You know, people need to understand and keep an eye out. But in terms of the cases that we're seeing, is there a notable sort of age demographic here? I think you talked about our historical high levels of smoking, that we're starting to see that now. That would indicate to me that maybe is it, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, that a lot of cases are being identified and obviously, as we know, being identified late.
Yeah, like the average age for lung cancer is in that 60s age bracket. So we are seeing those coming through. But again, we don't want to kind of mislead people either. We're seeing younger people getting lung cancer. So it's not just that age bracket, but in general, it tends to be over 60s. And that is the case, certainly. But again, we don't want young people.
Your age doesn't. I understand that, and that's why I talked about the vaping and everything else from early
exactly.
age. We don't want anyone to discount symptoms because of age, and I think our listeners will understand that. But I was just trying to get a sense of who should be extra particularly sensitive to some of the changes that and signs that we've been talking of. Okay, so go ahead, please. Kevin?
Yeah, I think to be honest with you, we all need to be aware of the dangers to our lung health. We are exposed to all kinds of pollutants and environmental things all of the time, and we do get fits of coughing and infections and whatnot. So we all need to be aware of it. But certainly, if you've had a history of smoking or a history of exposure to various chemicals, in particular asbestos, radon in particular, if you're living in a high radon area, you need to be aware of that risk as well.
Yeah.
So
that you add
exposure.
into the 1,400 deaths that are attributed to pollution, again affecting the lungs. They're so important to us, aren't they? We really need to keep a really close eye on them. So on Tuesday the 15th and Wednesday the 16th, that's next week, there will be a Lung Health Roadshow in the shopping centres throughout the country, in Letterkenny Shopping Centre, particularly for our listeners here. And go up, have a conversation. Will the stethoscope be out, or what's the story?
Yeah, well, we'll have a number of nurses there, and they will hopefully help the public identify those symptoms that they shouldn't ignore, and really encourage people to come forward and check out what if they have any concerns. But they'll be running basic health checks, running carbon monoxide testing, blood pressure checking, BMI checking, and we'll also provide information on how to spot the early warning signs of lung cancer. And again, people will get an opportunity to carry out a little lung health checker online as well. So there's a lot of information there. And again, it's just to allow that conversation around lung health and to link people into our own services at the Irish Cancer Society.
And again, I don't want to do anything that would in any way be seen to be diluting or blunting your very important message there. But there is also reality, and we see this in the mental health service, where we encourage people to speak out. But then when it comes to actually getting help, waiting lists. A listener says, I've been waiting on a breathing test for 5 months. There's still a waiting list of 31 weeks. They believe there's no point going to look about yourself when you don't get seen. I can't afford to go private. Are there any supports I can go to?
Yeah, I mean, it's really upsetting to us to hear stories like that, and we're hearing them all of the time. And it's something that we're really focused on at the Irish Cancer Society, really highlighting those long waiting lists, which makes us very upset, no doubt about it. And we're constantly raising those issues. But we do know that GPs have access to lung cancer rapid access clinics. So if those signs, those real warning signs of lung cancer are there, the GP will refer you into a lung rapid access clinic, and that's really important. And again, we'd encourage people just to really continue to make contact with the GP and ensure that you're getting the healthcare you deserve.
Kevin, thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it greatly. Take care
Thank
of
you very much,
yourself.
Bill.
All right. Bye-bye. Kevin O'Hagan, Cancer Prevention Manager with the Irish Cancer Society.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union. 9102127. Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Thinking of North America? Aer Lingus from Donegal Airport is the way to go. With great fares and onwards connections across North America, you'll fly via Dublin, where you'll pre-clear customs, saving you time on arrival. See airlingus.com. Offer subject to conditions and availability.
The High Kings, celebrating 15 years together as Ireland's favourite folk group, are back at the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny, December 28th, and Omagh St Enda's GAA Club, December 30th. Tickets available from venue box offices, hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie. Presented by Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
You may think you know driving, but you don't know Nissan e-Power. An electric motor that brings you the performance and response on the road that you demand, charged by a petrol engine as you drive. The thrill and economy of electric driving without ever having to plug in. And it's exclusive to Nissan. Who said you have to plug in to drive electric? Find the drive you've been looking for with e-Power. Now available in the new Nissan Qashqai, a unique electrifying experience now unplugged. Nissan, innovation that excites.
The 9 till noon show will be live this Friday from McElhenny's Ballybuffet to mark the official beginning of the Buy Donegal campaign, which runs from November 11th to December 24th. Tune in to find out about the Buy Donegal campaign, which showcases the best of Donegal businesses to a global audience. That's this Friday, the 9 till noon show, live from McElhenny's Ballybuffet.
Love swimming? Love it with a level head. Learn about weather, tides and rip currents. Be visible with a brightly coloured hat and tow float. Swim parallel to shore and never alone. Afterwards, get warm quickly. This is Water Safety Ireland. Better safe than sorry. For open water swimming advice, visit watersafety.ie. Supported by the Government of Ireland.
This December the 23rd, you could own a brand new car worth €30,000. What a wonderful automobile. Island Radio is giving away a brand new Nissan Juke SUV worth €30,000. Someone, and it could be you, will get a call from Greg Hughes on the 9 to noon show on December the 23rd.
You just won a car.
Yes, steady on, that could be you. If you've got the lucky ticket, simply go to highlandradio.com, click on the car link, answer an easy question and buy a ticket for €10, 6 for €50 or 10 for €80. Highland Radio's great car giveaway. Surprise, surprise! Get your ticket now.
After organising a date with a handsome gentleman on her dating app, Sadie is out for a makeover to look something like her profile pic. And while she looked great, we wish she'd unplugged her hair straightener before leaving. Thankfully, Sadie also matched with a PhoneWatch Black Friday deal, offering an alarm that responds to break-ins and smoke in just 15 seconds for €39. So romance will be the only thing on fire in her life. Life is unpredictable. Don't be alarmed, be phone watched. Offer ends November 30th. Visit phonewatch.ie. Monitoring fees apply.
Okay, we're joined on the programme now by Claire Andrews, who is on Instagram, Air Fryer UK. You're very committed to the air fryer. It's your handle, Claire.
I am, yes, I am.
Good stuff. Well, listen, I'm a big air fryer user myself. I've been using them now for 3 or 4 years. Anyone regularly listening to this show will probably know that, probably sick of listening to me talk about them. But it's amazing. Recently, I think because of the cost of living crisis, the energy crisis, those who were late adapters now are starting to sort of see the benefits of it. How long have you been a fan of air fryers, Claire?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So it's my love for air fryers started in lockdown, really. My mum bought me one as a gift because, you know, we were all at home and I just love to cook. And I kind of just thought, what do I do with this contraption? I mean, it's great, but surely there's got to be more to it than chips. So I kind of just took myself on a little journey with seeing what worked, what didn't. Yeah, and not looked back since. I use mine every day.
I would be an air oven fryer. Do you know the air fryers? But they're air
ovens.
ovens.
Yeah, I've not tried one, but yeah.
They are. If you think an air fryer is a game changer, go with the air oven because it is. You know, I mean, I know that you want to know what slot to put what in. You've got 3 stacks of it down to a T, no problem. And also, like a steak is beautiful out of an air fryer, isn't it? Because you can adjust the temperature up and have say, for instance, you could have a medium rare steak, but you can have the fat more rendered. There's so many different sort of ways you can cook food that you couldn't in a conventional oven or even on a pan, dare I say.
Absolutely, but also I think with the cost of living as well, people are more drawn to this because you don't need to heat the whole oven up. Like you say, if you're doing a steak or a piece of salmon, you can do that just in one and it's quicker. And for me, food just comes out tastier, keeps the colour if you're doing peppers or whatever. It's, yeah. I love it.
You talked about chips and one of the basic things. Do you use spray oil on them? I've never thought the need to. I see on some of the TikToks and Instagrams people spraying oil or buttering with oil. I think you can adjust the temperature up, get that crispiness without and still have a different. The inside of a chip, for example, then is not overdone. Like I don't understand why people use oil in air fryers.
So there's a big kind of talking about that at the moment. No, you don't need to. It is not necessary at all. I think that's the main benefit of the air fryer. If you're going to use an oil, I would never put it directly into your basket. Put your chips or whatever in a bowl, spray in there, coat it with whatever, and then place it into the air fryer. Sometimes it can create a smoke or a smell, only using olive oil or a vegetable oil. I wouldn't use anything else, but you don't need to. Some people also parboil their potatoes and then finish them off in the air fryer. I think it's your personal preference, but I don't think it's necessary. You don't need to.
Right, before we talk about sales and costs, would you do sausages in an air fryer?
I have done. I actually like vegetarian sausages in an air fryer. So I like, because they come out crispy on the outside. I've only actually done chipolatas. I haven't done the larger sausages in an air fryer, but I don't see why not. Definitely.
Yeah, they're smoky, that's the only thing you have to maybe have a window open or whatever. Right, okay, so it's no surprise to you then as we look to try and save some money. Like most of us, the way we cook, maybe people have to eat at different times with people coming in and out. You can cook so much food in an air fryer. You don't really have to wait for it to heat up. For me, it's a no-brainer versus a conventional oven, but now the penny's dropping more widely.
Yeah, totally agree with you. And like you say, children coming home from school or someone coming home late from work. And also with washing it, pop some liners in there or baking parchment and, because so you're not forever, having to wash it after every single use. I completely agree with you. And you can get some of the dual ones now. So that's a bit bigger. So you can have your salmon in one side and your vegetables in the oven, in the other side. It's a no-brainer for me.
Cooking from frozen burgers, frozen pork chops. I mean, not easy to do in a conventional oven again. When you heat it up for 20 minutes, then how long, you bang it in and you can have a burger done in 18 minutes or something like that there.
Yeah, absolutely. And scampi, if you're saying about frozen stuff, scampi, fish fingers. Fish fingers are great because, again, you've got that 360 degrees cooking, so definitely.
Well, I would argue with your basket, you're not getting through 360-degree cooking. But you see, with my oven, which is the exact same as yours, but with the slots, you don't have to turn, shake, rattle, nothing.
Really? Okay. This sounds like a game changer. I need to try one of these.
Please, someone sponsor one if she doesn't want to buy it. But I would love to see you. It's unbelievable. Okay. The only thing you have to make sure is stuff that drips goes at the bottom. So if you're doing a steak and chips,
So you don't put the steak at the top?
No, that'll dribble down. That'll dribble down. Claire, you're not an amateur. That would dribble down on the chips.
I think I'm going to be coming to you for tips, actually.
What's your favorite thing to cook in your air fryer?
Oh, salmon, without a shadow of a doubt. A piece of salmon in the air fryer. I start that off and with whatever, I don't know, a sauce or nothing sometimes, and vegetables, roasted vegetables. So whatever I have left over, I'd always put that in the air fryer.
I mean, full chicken in an hour. 25 minutes on one side, flip it 25, and you will not eat better chicken than you will out of an air fryer. I defy anyone to eat a better cooked, juicy chicken. Am I right?
Absolutely right. And again, you can put whatever herbs or spices or whatever on the chicken, Cajun or just rosemary or just a normal chicken. It's delicious.
Yeah,
absolutely delicious.
You have a cookbook coming out in February, and that is the one. What I can't understand is that. People that provide food, very few have air frying instructions as part of their cook instructions, because your oven, if it says to do it for 25 minutes in an oven, well, you can take that down to maybe 15, depending what it is, 14 in an air fryer. So it's about time they start adjusting that, I think. But you've a cookbook coming out, and what's your focus going to be on that?
Well, focus is when we started talking about it, everything was quite American. So it was in American, like Fahrenheit, and it was just the temperatures were all American, and the food as well. We wanted to bring it for everybody. So we wanted it to be reheating your leftovers almost, but also cooking a whole chicken and using what you've got in your fridge or in your cupboards, and just making it available for everybody and making it affordable and everyday cooking in an air fryer. So that's the first thing that I found. My air fryer didn't come with anything. So I went online and everything was quite American. Not there's anything wrong with that at all, but it confused me. So that's why I created Instagram, and that's why, thankfully it's grown into a cookbook, and I hope it can help people, because it definitely helped me going on this journey.
Yeah, because I presume it's a two-way conversation, a little bit like the one we're having now, Claire. It is, everyone discovers their own little thing, don't they, that makes their life a little bit easier. And then there's nothing nice in this complicated world. There's nothing nicer than just that share of information and talking about something about doing a steak in an air fryer.
Oh, definitely. And I think sharing that as well, going, I didn't think even about doing a whole chicken, or I didn't think about doing sausages. I genuinely thought it was just for frozen food. And, a large supermarket now has started putting on the back air fry cooking times, which I think is just great.
Yeah.
It's brilliant, We're all looking towards that, how to reduce our costs. So, yeah, let's help one another out and let's get those handy hints and tips out there.
Yeah, and they're widely available too, reasonably affordable. Like, I've gone through 3. I find the ones with the basket, the way you open and close them, open and close them. After a while, the hinge give way. The ovens, not so much. It's just an open and shut door. Do you know what I mean? It seems to. I think it's going to last forever. The engine will give out before the doors do. But they are considering that you start saving money from day one. They are relatively affordable, aren't they?
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's some for £30 and there's some for like £180. So I always say to people, when you're looking at researching them, look at basket size or look at oven size for your family. That's going to fit your family. Most expensive and bigger isn't always the best. So just do your research. But at the moment, they seem to be sold out everywhere. I mean, I don't know what you found, but it's been pretty tricky to get hold of one.
So in terms of the type you use, right, because with my 3-slotted oven job, right, so say you could do chips, steak and onion rings, right, all in the one go. You could do for 3 people very, very comfortably, possibly 4. With your basket type, can you do chips and steak at the same time, for example, or burgers and chips at the same time? Do you do that, or do you have to do it separately? Because I think the double comparted ones are coming up with a solution to fix the problem that's already fixed by the oven one, if that makes sense.
Completely. So there's only 2 of us. So I live with my son. So yes, I would do 2 pieces of salmon and vegetables, and that would probably be it in there. And then we'd have rice, but I'd do that separately anyway. You can't cook a rice in an air fryer. Well,
have
maybe
you tried it?
That's a good challenge, isn't it? I quite like that. So I think, I would cook a meal like that. So I'd do halloumi and vegetables or whatever. So I wouldn't be able to put all of it in that basket, and don't overfill the basket. Even though it's deep, if you overfill it, it doesn't give you that, it doesn't create that crispiness, and it doesn't,
And you talk about younger ones in the house, and lots of people listening, including myself, do. I mean, obviously it's all age appropriate and what have you, but I think your air fryer, air oven, when they're of the right age, is more accessible and user friendly for a younger person than a traditional oven might be.
Definitely, because you don't have that worry, because you can, with lots of them, you can take the basket out, so you don't have the inner casing that's so hot. You can use, say, silicone molds for cupcakes, and that's really good, the children getting involved with that. No, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
I was going to ask you about that baking, because it's not something I would do. Do you do much sort of baking in an air fryer? Is it, because the one challenge I would imagine would be is, because it's sort of sensitive materials, not ruining the top of it and then what's underneath being perfectly cooked. Is there a way around that?
Yeah, the silicone molds, so the silicone like cupcake molds, I use them for everything. So I do them for savoury muffins or for like banana muffins. You can put them in the washing machine. Please don't do that. Put them in the dishwasher and just reuse them. Just reuse them again and again. Again, adjust your cooking times from a conventional oven to what you would with an air fryer, and don't have it as high. That would be my top tip. If it says 180, bring it down to 160.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what your cookbook will point out, I'm sure. Cleaning tips. Now, again, I'm not want to sort of gloat about the air oven side of things. It's not. It is the exact same thing, but you don't have. You have a tray at the bottom. I put tin foil on mine. Rip it out, put it away. Okay. The basket ones, they're different shapes, but there are solutions coming around in terms of cleaning. I see little trays that can go in the bottom, some brainwave. What's your view on the cleaning, the best way to clean them?
Best way to clean them, well, I use baking parchment a lot, or I use the silicone molds quite a lot, depending on what I'm cooking. Also, you can use ceramic dishes. Anything oven-proof can go in. So I've done a fish pie in there, or I've done like a cottage pie in there. So I wouldn't need to clean the baskets at all. I'd just clean the dish like you would anyway. But if you do need to clean it, soap your water, rinse it out, and you can actually dry it by putting it in for a couple of minutes as well. Just make sure it's thoroughly rinsed, or else,
And would you say it's advisable if you're cooking, like when you see the fat that comes out of burgers, it's unbelievable that otherwise in a pan that would be going into you for the most part. You don't, as much as you probably don't want to, you want to be tipping out that fat as you go, don't you? Because that starts settling in the bottom and hardening. You have a big job of cleaning there. So if it's drippy kind of stuff, tip that out whilst it's warm, yeah?
Yeah, get rid of it. I mean, don't put it down your sinks or anything like that. Get rid of it appropriately in your compost or whatever. But yeah, I would. Or else the next time
Look at you being all environmentally friendly when you're tipping it down the sink.
I wouldn't advise this.
I'm only joking, and you're right. I'm the same. Greg, you're right. I'm a recent air fryer convert. Just brilliant. I could only get the basket one, but want the oven one and can't seem to get them anywhere. Out of stock till after Christmas. I got mine in the centre aisles of a German store. It's fantastic. I have a big family. Would I be better to get 2 air fryers or use my oven? That's because you've got two. My situation is people are in it and out at different times, so I don't often have to do for 4 or 5 or 6. Then we're into a different space there, maybe with planning and stuff. Then we have 2 of them running at the same time. What's your research telling you on that one, Claire? It's difficult, then, isn't it?
It is a difficult one. I still think it would be cheaper if you have 2 running at the same time. Or look at the dual oven ones. So lots of them now have 2 baskets that you can pull out. So that would be my answer. Also, look at your workspace. Do you have enough workspace for 2 air fryers? I mean, they're not tiny, let's face it.
Yeah.
2 of them might take up a lot of space. So, just research all of that. I still think it would probably work out well. It would work out cheaper.
Yeah, because if you cook a pizza in the air oven I have, or the air fryer, but definitely the air oven, you can do pizza no problem. You can probably do slices. It's 18 minutes for it to be perfect. Now, normally a conventional oven, you'd heat it for that long and then put it in for 20 minutes. So, it's half of it. What sort of... Oh, right, okay, I can answer that one later. What brand of air fryer is best and where can it be bought? Now, this is a tricky one. They all seem... I've had 4 different brands and they were all much of a muchness. I don't know what your experience is, Claire.
I completely agree with you. And it's really hard. I mean, I've only tried 3 or 4 myself. Reader reviews. I mean, obviously, you've got your Ninjas out there, which are fabulous. I have a Swan one. That's great. Yeah. It looks great as well. Just read the reviews.
Yeah, Ninja are very active in the promotion market as well. So, I'm not saying that means there are any, but there are ones that are equal that probably might not set you back quite as much.
Oh, completely.
Yeah, all right. And I would say your community, your air frying community on Instagram, people can check out Claire on @AirFryerUK. Have you noticed an increase in activity as of late? Because there's one thing I noticed with watching British TV, particularly during the adverts of the soaps and all it was on in the background. Of course, I don't watch them. Is every advert is framed in cost of living. Tesco's is that where every advert is acknowledging that things are tight. Now, I'm not sure that's fantastic advertising, personally speaking, because for 4 minutes it's kind of overwhelming. But it does change people's attitudes. So I imagine you're seeing more traction lately, Claire.
Oh, completely. I mean, since August, actually, since the end of the summer, beginning of autumn, a lot more interaction, a lot more questions. The community on Instagram, they're just fantastic. I know social media gets a really, really bad name, but it's just fantastic to be part of it. Other people dipping in and giving advice and tips, and it's just such a great community to be a part of. And anything I think we can all do. We hear it in the news, like you say, in the soaps, on the adverts, and it's quite overwhelming, isn't it, really?
Overwhelming, yes. So let's get back to something more. Cheese on toast. Right, cheese on toast is the kind of thing you don't have, right, because it's too much hassle putting on the grill. 3 minutes in an air fryer, perfect. Toasted sandwiches, Claire.
Yeah. Love them. And not just cheese on toast. Put some beans on the top as well. Just be careful as you're doing it. Get some cheese. Gorgeous. Again, 3 to 4 minutes is perfect. And the bread, it's like you've almost pan fried it in butter as well, because it's so crispy.
So it's lunchtime as well as dinner time, really, is the point I was trying to
and breakfast. You know, I've done a granola as well in there. So I've just done some, I've just done a granola, serve it with some fresh raspberries and some yogurt. So, yeah.
Have you done a ham as well, too? It's another thing.
I've not.
A lot of people put ham is beautifully tender out of it. Like, is it, what do you call it? It's the gammon, you know,
like a gammon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like a gammon. Yeah, no, I haven't actually. It's cool.
Absolutely delicious, because you save yourself an hour of gas or, you know, whatever else is in the oven. Also nice in a slow cooker as well. All right, Claire, what are you having for dinner tonight?
What am I having for dinner tonight? Well, now I want salmon, but...
Not granola. Are you sure you don't want a nice granola?
We're going to have chicken tonight. I've done some goujons, which again, already pre-made, and I'll cook them in the air fryer later. So.
All right, brilliant stuff. Okay, Claire, listen, the best of luck with your nice engagements with people. I'd say there's very little hate and anger on Air Fryer UK Instagram. It's a nice, welcoming, warm place.
Welcoming, warm environment.
And also, good luck with the cookbook coming out. Might chat again about that, actually. And try an air oven, please.
I will.
I don't think you'll go back, but anyway, you might. I don't know. We'll see. Claire, it's been lovely speaking to you on something that's just not quite as serious as the other stuff we can tend to speak about. So thank you very much indeed.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Bye, Claire. Lovely. That's Claire Andrews there. 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and texts. And the reason I kind of talk about it so much is because, you know, I'm tight. Things are tight. Money's tight. And, you know, it's not new. You know, it's been tight for a long time. Now it's extra tight. And anything you can do to cut down on electricity, cooking times, anything like that there, it's good to go for, isn't it? It's okay. Let's take a break. Back with more. Keep your calls and comments coming in.
Text or WhatsApp your view to Greg on 086 60 25,000.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring 70% off sale. Get up to 70% off on all your purchases. Up to 70% off all tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware. Everything's reduced in store. The 70% off sale at Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Stores nationwide. Sale now on.
If you're a business owner wondering what to get your staff for Christmas, Kelly Centra in Letterkenny have great hampers to suit all budgets. Luxury hampers are a speciality, with delivery available. Also vouchers for Kelly's award-winning diner or Circle K fuel at the forecourt. Get Christmas sorted for your staff now at Kelly Centra, Mountain Top, Letterkenny. Call 91 22026.
Years ago, I used to dread my motor insurance renewal. Then a friend told me about O'Malley Scanlon Insurance in Ballybofey and Dunlow. They do all the hard work. They contact all the major insurance underwriters and they get the very best possible quote for me. They have saved me a small fortune over the years and they could do the same for you.
When your insurance comes up for renewal, contact O'Malley Scanlon Insurance at their Ballybofey office on 9131020 or their Dunlow office on 952206. O'Malley Scanlon is regulated by the Central Bank.
I'm nipping to Super Value. Okay, tea, bread, weekly voucher on my app. Oh, and a year's free shopping.
Your trip to Super Value could look even better with our new Real Rewards Scan to Win monthly prize draw. Every scan of your Real Rewards card equals one chance to win. This November, there's 4 one-year free shopping prizes, a trip to Cannes, a prize to be won in every Super Value, and more. So, start scanning. T's and C's apply. See supervalue.ie for full details on how to enter. 1 year free shopping value is €5,200.
Are you or a family member living in Europe Purple Britain? Well, this year at Highland Radio, we want to make Christmas extra special for one lucky family. We want to bring someone home for Christmas who couldn't make it home to see their loved ones. To nominate someone close to you, email both sets of contact details and why we should choose you to homeforchristmas@highlandradio.com. And don't forget, you can nominate yourself by sending your details and reasons why to homeforchristmas@highlandradio.com, and then let Highland Radio work its Christmas magic. Terms and conditions apply. For more information, visit highlandradio.com.
Save money this winter with a fire door on your fireplace at Northwest Fireplace Services. We also install room heater stoves, fireplaces, fireback replacements also available. Call 083 84 6657 or find us on Facebook, Northwest Fireplace Services. All areas covered.
Business Matters in association with the Faculty of Business at ATU Donegal. Looking for a career in financial services? Consider the Level 9 MA in Governance and IT in Financial Services. Take the next step in your career and contact the Exec Ed Coordinator on 9186206 or email execed, EXECED at atu.ie today.
Okay, can you believe it is Wednesday? That means it's good morning to Kieran O'Donnell. Hiya, Kieran.
Good morning, Greg.
Good to have you in with us. Now, let's start with some news before we talk about the Business Matters podcast, which is live for you right now. And a STEM lab opens at Errigal College. STEM's a term we're starting to become a little bit more familiar with.
Yes.
Maybe wouldn't have so much some years ago, but anyway.
Very much, yeah. Acronym for Science, Technology, Engineering and Math. Errigal College in Letterkenny opened its STEM lab on Monday of this week, sponsored by Optum Ireland and UK. It's the brainchild of coding, geography and English teacher David McHale, who, along with the school's coding and computer science department, worked to turn this idea into a reality. So Donegal ETB has thanked Nullig Nivrali and Patrick Monaghan from Optum for their support in getting this up and running.
Brilliant stuff. Donegal Enterprise Awards, they're open now, are they?
Yeah, businesses looking to enter the 2022 Donegal Enterprise Awards are reminded that applications must be submitted online by 12 noon on Tuesday next, that is November the 15th. And all businesses applying must have less than 50 employees and must be in receipt of direct Leo support. So it's organised by Local Enterprise Office Donegal, and the awards celebrate achievements of Donegal's small business sector over the past year. And for more information, log on to localenterprise.ie/Donegal.
Now, are you going to be dusting off your slingbacks for the Letterkenny Chamber Business Awards night?
If you're buying, I'm going. Letterkenny Chambers Business Awards night is being held in Mount Errigal this Friday, November the 11th, and it is officially a sellout. So the event is being held in partnership with Airgrid, and Highland Radio is the media partner.
Brilliant stuff. Now, major milestone for Donegal ATU.
Yeah, ATU's Donegal Atlantic Technological University held its first conferring ceremonies on Thursday and Friday of last week. So these ceremonies marked a significant milestone for the newly established university, and over the next while, 5,000 students are set to graduate, which is, I suppose, it shows how the amalgamation has gone and the significance in terms of numbers. When you're talking about 5,000 people graduating, it gives an indication of the size of the operation now.
Oh, it's absolutely massive. Right, okay. Now, the DLC has its pathway out for the next 3 years?
Yeah, it launched its 3-year strategic plan last week by the Minister of State with responsibility for community development and charities at the Department of Rural and Community Development. Obviously, it must be the longest job title in any government department.
No, I think
Mr. Joe O'Brien.
I think Roderick O'Gorman has his has that.
They need to take a look at that type.
Yeah, I know.
It's just much too long. Established in 1995, DLDC is led by a voluntary board of directors from community and voluntary groups, social partners, local government and state bodies. And just for information, its catchment area covers all parts of Donegal except for Inishowen, and that's covered by Inishowen Development Partnership, also known as IDP.
All right, Tio, we're going to get some words with Kieran about this week's podcast. It's another interesting one, no doubt, and that'll be after these messages.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Do you need to switch your Ulster Bank loan or overdraft? We are now offering competitive low-rate switcher loans and MyCU current account with overdraft.
From the morning routines to cosy family moments, Grant has been bringing comfort to homes for over 45 years. With our biofuel-compatible condensing boilers, heat pumps and underfloor heating, you can trust Grant to heat your home now and into the future. Think heating, think Grant. Visit grant.eu.
For all your training needs, Northwest Forestry Services Training Department Ballybuffet offer a wide range of courses from training bodies such as NPTC City and Guilds, QQI, LADRA and ABA International. Courses include all land-based services such as chainsaw, tree climbing and rescue, pesticides, working in heights and ATV training. Other courses offered include first aid responder, manual handling and building safety, to name but a few. For a full list of training courses and availability, contact Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet on 074 9132033.
Since she got her free hearing aids with her PRSI at Specsavers, Roisin is a changed woman. Music has never sounded better, and that makes her dance. And dance. And dance. Her singing, though, well...
Free hearing aids with PRSI at Specsavers. Music to your ears. Find out more online. Terms and conditions apply.
Check out these special offers at Simpson Supermarket, Letterkenny. Dairy Gold 454 gram, €2.50. Chicago Town takeaway pizzas, €4. 7-Up 2 litre, 2 for €2.50. Nicky toilet roll 16 pack, €4.50. Dolmio original 500 gram, 2 for €3. Simpsons are now taking orders for your Christmas turkey. Join our Christmas club and spread the cost over the next few weeks. Ask any staff member for details. While there, check out Peggy's Kitchen Cafe for great food, tea and coffee. Only 2 minutes from Letterkenny Hospital. Simpson Supermarket. Great value every day.
At Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles, we put safety first. If you drive a van for work, you should too. A Road Safety Authority study revealed more than a quarter of fatal and serious injury collisions involving a light commercial vehicle occur between 4 and 8 p.m. Remember, tiredness kills. Stop safely, have a caffeinated drink, and take a 15-minute nap. Keep moving safely. With Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles and the Road Safety Authority, help drive safety home. Visit volkswagenvans.ie/advice.
Are you in need of treatment or on the HSE waiting list? Come along to our cross-border healthcare information drop-in clinic at Kingsbridge, Letterkenny, Scally Place on Thursday the 10th of November. Our cross-border team will be there from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. to assist you with all your queries and even book you in for an initial consultation at either our hospital in Belfast or Ballykelly. Why wait? Email businessrelations@kingsbridgehealthcaregroup.com for further information.
Okay, Kieran O'Donnell, presenter of Highland Radio's Business Matters podcast, is with us, and it's an interesting one because what I like about the podcast is you don't know who you're going to be talking to next. A really important business that's important to an awful lot of people. First port of call often on the big shop, and that's your local butcher, Kieran.
Yeah, and one of the local butchers is my guest this week, Greg. It's Stephen Shields, owner of the Hardy's Butchers on Pierce Road. Stephen has been a butcher for 37 years, having started his trade with the late Paddy Kelly on Letterkenny's Upper Main Street, and that was next to Dillon's Supermarket. When Paddy retired 9 years later, Stephen moved to Doherty's Butchers, and he subsequently secured a position at Doherty's Butchers on Main Street. In 2008, he bought the business from Gerard McGinley, and 5 years ago, Stephen relocated to Pierce Road. During our conversation, Greg, Stephen recalled a day during the first COVID lockdown that he says he'll never forget.
The eeriest of days, I remember one in particular, in the heart of COVID. I've never ever spent a day like it. I worked through the whole of COVID. And on days when COVID was high and people didn't come out of their doors, I remember coming into work in the morning. I had very little to do on that particular day. I think it was a Wednesday or a Thursday, and I remember at 10:30 standing out in the front of the shop. There was nothing. There was no cars. There was no people. There was nothing in the sky.
And Pierce Road is a busy road?
Pierce Road's a busy road. And I actually looked across up into where the old ESB yard. There was a fox. There was pigeons. There was such an abundance of wildlife. I thought to myself, nobody would believe me. I closed up that day at 2 o'clock. I drove over and I went up through the main street and down to the bottom of the main street past Dunn Stores, and I never seen one being or one car. That's all the years that I was on the main street. I remembered it so well. I went out home and I thought it was the eeriest feeling. It was like there was nobody else left in the world. And you know, and it was like that at night time, if you had any errand to come in to do anything in the town. But it was very quiet and eerie times, you know. So I hope it's all behind us now. We never go through a phase like it.
Fingers crossed. And I can relate to what he was saying because obviously, you know, we kept going here as well. It reminded me of that film 28 Days Later. where, I think it was based in London or something, and there was nothing. And that's what a lot of our, big towns and villages were like. There was nothing. Interesting. Going to be an interesting conversation. I think you've already had it, Kieran, with Stephen.
Yeah, Stephen's been in the butchering trade for 37 years, still a young man, so he's been there all of his life, and he's learned a lot of life lessons, and he's learned a lot of business lessons, and he shared them all with myself during our conversation.
Excellent stuff. Now, that full interview is available on our website right now, highlandradio.com, or wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify or iTunes particularly. And Business Matters is on the air, scheduled for this Sunday, Kieran.
Yeah, regular slot Sunday evening, Greg, after the 6 o'clock news.
And if you want to get in touch with you, Kieran?
Yeah, just drop an email, please, businessmatters@highlandradio.com.
And we highly recommend to the back catalogue there. There's well in excess of 100 podcasts there speaking about all different types of business, the people behind the business, how they got there, where they think they're going, the potholes, the pitfalls, and things that work here. And it's all covered when you think about it.
Yeah,
it's quite a back catalogue of work you have there.
Yeah, and just when you're saying, Stephen's covered a lot of those topics that you've talked about.
Okay.
He's covered them all, actually.
All right, good stuff. Kieran, thanks very much for that. Look forward to seeing you next Wednesday.
Good morning, Greg.
Right,
Thank
bye-bye.
you.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Our toy tester Jacob is giving the lowdown on the toys at Lidl.
The electric train set is deadly. Choo choo. The wooden play kitchen is great. I've made dinner for the whole family.
This week there's loads of highly rated and great value toys at Lidl. Go on, shop without compromise. Go full Lidl today.
Do you suffer from fridge fatigue? Opening the fridge after a long day and facing the same old for dinner? That's where versatile, quality-assured pork and bacon come in, like a warm casserole to welcome you home, a quick and nourishing stir-fry, or delicious roast pork as a weekend treat.
Always choose pork and bacon with the Boardbia quality mark for the highest standards, verified at every stage. And for recipes, visit boardbia.ie/pork and bacon.
Are you in need of treatment or on the HSE waiting list? Come along to our cross-border healthcare information drop-in clinic at Kingsbridge, Letterkenny, Scally Place on Thursday the 10th of November. Our cross-border team will be there from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. to assist you with all your queries and even book you in for an initial consultation at either our hospital in Belfast or Ballykelly. Why wait? Email businessrelations@kingsbridgehealthcaregroup.com for further information.
Connolly's Audi Sligo are returning with their Future Now test drive event, taking place on Saturday 19th and Sunday 20th November at Letterkenny Golf Club. Call in from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We will be showcasing our fantastic range of cars for the entire weekend. To avoid disappointment, order your new 231 Audi today with Connolly's Audi Sligo. Visit connolly's.ie to see our full range.
Your next move matters, so why not move better? Start your move to permanent TSB today. Apply in-app for our award-winning current account. So don't just move bank, move better. Apply in-app today. Applications for Explore Current Account in-app in sole name for over 18 personal customers. Residents of Republic of Ireland only. Fees and charges, terms and conditions apply. Awarded Bunkers.ie Best Current Account 2022. Permanent TSB PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Don't miss a night of the Country Stars live in concert on Monday the 5th of December in the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Featuring Jimmy Buckley, Brendan Shine, Patrick Finney, Olivia Douglas, Declan Nerney and your host and compere David James. Tickets now on sale from hotel reception and online at Eventbrite. That's Monday the 5th of December at the Mount Errigal Hotel.
All right, time to squeeze in a few comments for you, and any we don't get to, we'll carry on till tomorrow, of course. Hi, just wondering, is the pathway from Whitethorn to Bernard McGlinchey Park finished yet? That's in Letterkenny. I don't know the answer to that question. If anyone does, let us know. All very well catching the cancer early if you can get an appointment with the GPs, and then over 3 years of a waiting list. And I hope you understand that was I did make that point too on your behalf and others. Back to the roads though. We need the new roads, and he's right. I'm a pensioner and a 5th generation Letterkenny man, and I have to say, since Sterling dropped, we've gone shopping in Northern Ireland. I go to work 5 nights a week at 10:50. The new traffic lights beside the council offices are red 3 nights out of 5. No traffic coming from the new Joe Boner Road. Shouldn't these lights be smart lights after a certain time of night? Yes, they should. Hi, Greg. I'm sorry to say I'll not be going to Letterkenny to shop for Christmas because of the traffic. The councillor knows about this and has done nothing, and the road from the Dry Arch into the town is a joke at this stage. Thank you. But I tried to highlight that, but it's we have to do with what we have to do, and let's be positive. But that's not going to fill the tills, I'm afraid. Something actually more proactive needs to be done in that regard. Those traffic lights, I don't know when the college is closed coming up to Christmas, will be switched off, presumably. Things like that you get out there, that you relate to the public, and you say, right, we want you to come in to this town, and we as a council, this is what we're doing, and these are the times you can expect to wait, or whatever. Advertise off-peak times, get people into shops at different times, proactively encourage people into the town when you know it's a little bit quieter. Things like that. Needs a PR manager really to deal with it, but that's what we're talking about. That's the scale, and there's an awful lot of money washing around there in the economy, even though things are tight, and Letterkenny has to get as much of it as can. The same for other towns as well. Why not promote quieter shopping towns, different experiences, incentivise, talk about when lights will be off and on, that kind of stuff. I would have thought it was basic stuff. The traffic lights at Michael Murphy's shop are a huge problem. Surely in this day and age a pedestrian tunnel or flyover could be put in. Absolutely ridiculous having a set of traffic lights in between two roundabouts. That's coming in from Noel. And we have more coming in. We'll return to that topic tomorrow because we'll have time, as well as everything else we'll be talking about. Thanks to Donna Marie and Emma working on the show today. Have a lovely